could you just let us know how you would like for us to address the items on the agenda?
Yeah, thank you. I think we should start with the release of Lot 1 and 2 on Graystone Lane, mostly because that should just be a quick matter of business that's cleaning up something from 20 years ago that's coming up on someone's title. And then if we could go to 37 Willard Road, being that our consultants will be here, and then we can move on to the rest of the agenda, citizens petition and rules revisions, and take the rest in that order.
Okay, sounds good. So Graystone Lane, what is the process that we're looking at?
So
Citizens' comments?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Citizens' comment.
yeah.
Does anybody have it? Diana, do you have one?
No.
No.
It's a process.
Just that you
Just keeping us honest. I get it. Thank you. What do we need to do on Graystone?
So let me show you just Graystone. This was the 1993 flex subdivision. For some reason, when the lots were released, Lot 1 was never included in that release, but it has been built and in existence for more than 20 years now. So it is, but for some reason it was never included. They are selling it now, and it's come up on their title that the lot was never released. So if you look at the agreement here, the lot release down here, as you can see, it's crossed out lots 1 through 10 inclusive, listed C1, C2, all the way through A1. For some reason, lot 1 was never included, whether that's because lot 1 was part of a previous conventional subdivision or it was just an error. Hard to say, but that's where it's at right now. No, it's not, because C1 is if you look at it here, it's yes, it's huge C1. All the rest of these are C1. Yeah. So with that in mind, I did have a lot release form here, 2 of them. I believe their attorney is here. Is that yeah?
Yes.
And he can notarize this. So I thought we could just get that out of the way while he's here, not let him stick around for the rest of things to just take care of something that should be quick.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the process? There are 2 here.
Yeah, I have 2 of them, so he can take one and we can keep a copy.
Okay.
We can notarize both. The road has been changed to Graystone from Jenny.
But it's still, I mean, are they gonna update everything?
On the,
Well, with this.
with that plan?
release?
Yeah, it should, I believe it does say,
But I'm saying on the map up there, it's Jenny Lane.
on the map up there, yeah, it's Jenny Lane. I mean,
So
this
we
is,
can get updated at some point?
this is the old map from when they did. You know, I don't know when it changed to Graystone.
There's a lot of loose ends. So we have had satisfactory evidence of identification people, I mean,
Yeah.
because from this, I mean, what are we signing?
Basically that this lot,
They're trying to release the plot.
yeah, that they're releasing this lot that has already been sold twice, I believe. So,
Just
Great.
filling in the gap.
It looks
Yeah.
like almost when they went to release it, there was an original plan that included 10 lots, 1 through 10. They went to release it, they wrote in lots 1 through 10. Then they crossed it out to reference the newer plan, but it had more than 10 lots. It's almost like whoever released it wanted to include thought that we're just gonna be the same 10 lots. It just, the names changed, they're not 1 through 10 anymore, they're, as you can see, C1, C2, but there were more lots that were included in the next plan, so. It looks like
Yeah,
it's now.
sign both so we can have a copy.
I do actually though, I have to, can I take pictures of everyone's driver's licenses?
What?
I'm gonna notarize it. I have to do my-
You have to make sure we are who we are.
To notarize, I am required to, yeah. I'm gonna notarize it for you guys.
I'm a notary, I confirm.
Yeah,
Notarize
yeah.
every notary.
I can look at it, that's fine. But is there a list somewhere of, because I do need to write down everybody's name. Is there a
You'll
list?
see it on their driver's license.
Okay, would it be- If I could take a few minutes to just write down the names, if that works.
Yeah, that's fine.
What are we wasting?
I won't make out with your license. Sure. No, I just need their, just your name.
Depending on, up to, who did the last one? 1,200.
It's, I notarized some document, we just reference it as a Massachusetts draft.
Done half a dozen folks.
This is the left of the board. So, you know, what's called little fish. Bigger dolphins. Florida, yeah.
Maybe a man or two.
They spotted one far off, it was too far for me to really know what it was. Yeah, it's a gray shape with a tail. But yeah, it was cool. It was
Did they take spots on the shelf and that's the thing?
Yeah.
Beach and
Yeah.
phenomenal.
yeah, they were really nice.
What are the issues?
Here you go, here's the other. Take one, leave
I'm
one.
not sick. I must have to go. I know, me too. I went to the hospital.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it back. Okay.
I do have to ask you,
Quite
did we
hard to
everybody
go in
sign
there.
everything today?
They must have something.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's right there.
That's a yes, right? Thank you.
How are you doing on
So excuse me, you're essentially done with us, right? You're just going to.
I'm just gonna
confirm
complete the notary over there and then bring you back an
Bring it
original.
back,
Yep.
bring us back a copy.
I'm done. Yep.
Sure, okay,
Oh,
that's great.
you'll have one original.
So it's all right with you if we move on to the next?
Absolutely. Thank you.
This double cut driveway.
Then we will next address,
We're gonna go, we'll do 37 Willard first.
is Kim coming? or-
Kim was coming tonight, where?
Yeah, she just texted me, she was grabbing a slice of pizza, she said,
Okay.
Okay, all right, so why don't we go ahead and start the presentation?
Brothers.
Are you the presenter on this?
The owners are going to present first.
The owners are going to present first.
I'm
All right.
presenting as well as Angela and Peter Manning. We'll all have
Double cut driveway.
a few minutes to
Oh,
describe.
she should be there.
All right, so we'll try to hold this to a half an hour if we could. If you could make your presentation, try to hold it to 20 minutes or so. That'll give us 10 minutes for planning board comments, our consultants' comments, and comments from the audience. Great.
Would you like me to stand up so you can see?
Yeah, sure. That's
Because I
right.
can't see it right now. So my name is Cheryl Scaparata. This is my husband, Joe Scaparata, and we are the owners of 37 Willard Road. We purchased the home just about a year ago. What we're hoping to do is not change the neighborhood, just make somewhat of an improvement to the neighborhood without changing the semi-rural character of not only Willard Road, but the whole Silver Hill neighborhood. So what we did is we came up with a house plan using people that I know that you're familiar with, like Danny, Angela, and Keith, who also lives in our neighborhood, and wouldn't like in the ordinance, I don't think his own, our fellow neighbors. But we weren't sure if it was acceptable to our neighbors, so we actually, before we came to you, we bounced it off our neighbors to see what they think, because they're the ones who would have to live with it. So we actually have 4 neighbors who are kind enough to come here from Willard Road tonight. I don't know if you do or don't want to hear from them, but they're here. And we also, we actually went around the neighborhood and asked them to sign something saying they were in, either agree or disagree with it. And we do have something we can leave with you at the end. But in terms of the house plan, you can see it over there. The footprint is there. The footprint overlaps with the existing home. We did obtain the Historical Commission approval last year to demolish it. They were the first people to come to the sidewalk. The house was built in 1944. We have the letter that they said there was no historical significance. You can see the area of site disturbance with the black heavy dashed lines. But outside of the area of site disturbance, you'll notice if you close up on it, or Angela can take you through this in more detail, we really aren't touching the screening brush and trees that already exist there. I believe only 9 large pines would have to be removed, but even in the case of what we're removing, we have a plan to replace them. So it would be shading or screening, not so much, not changing the character, screening, but keeping the same semi-rural character. Willard Road is an ended way, and it's very quiet, and we want to keep it that way. So we hope our plan reflects that to you. And I guess with that, I would turn it over to who you want to hear from next. Either the
Site
house-
engineer.
Site engineer,
Yep.
okay, that would be, yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, this one?
Drainage.
Or-
Let's see. Let's see, survey. How about the? Stormwater, yeah. Okay, all right, excellent. So this site, it's just a little over half an acre in total size. I know it's difficult to see, but the existing house kind of sits right in this area here, with the existing driveway similar to where the proposed one is coming in over here. The topography, there are essentially 2 watersheds, a very small little piece of existing watershed that runs off towards Willard Road on this side, and then the rest of it really all flows back to the back, and it's about a 5% grade from Willard Road all the way to the back of the property. So when I looked at the storm drainage, I just, this little watershed here essentially is very small, and it doesn't change from existing to proposed. The major one here, obviously we have about, what was it, about almost 1,500 square feet of increase in impervious area due to the proposed house and the driveway. So to mitigate the increased runoff, I've got 2 infiltration systems. One that's underneath the driveway here, which takes all of the roof runoff, and that goes into this system here. And there's an overflow that comes to a dry well with a grate on top that when it fills up, it bubbles over and it'll flow across the lawn and down in that direction. The other system, which is down in this area here, the driveway's been graded so that everything runs to a catch basin at this point, and then it's piped into this system here, and that's sized to capture all of the stormwater runoff for up to the 100-year event. So when you look at the pre versus post runoff, we have a decrease in all storm events. Decrease in all for the design point number 1 at the back. Decrease in all storm events a slight decrease. It's not a major decrease. And then this small one up front, there's essentially no change at all to the pre versus post. And as far as utilities, pretty much keeping the same as what's out there today with new water coming in, electric and telephone, underground conduits, and let's see, where the heck is and the existing septic system is going to remain. So that's pretty much it for the site symbol.
Do you have any context drawings that show this, how this property fits into the neighborhood, the surrounding properties?
We have sections,
But no,
sectional views,
no
but
sort of plan showing the abutters and where the abutters' houses are or anything like that?
I think do you have the sections in there? I think that's the closest we have, I think, at this point. I don't think we did a context plan.
Because when you talked about one of the catch basins in the rear of the property, I think it was that caught water and then when it filled, it then bubbled off.
Yeah.
What does it bubble off into?
It just runs like over land, natural.
But what, is there any, are there other people's basements perhaps somewhere near there?
Well,
or something like
way
that?
at the back, it's a good ways off. And we're not increasing runoff from the site at all. We're decreasing it for all storm events. So let's see. So this is running east-west. Yeah, so this is a section running. So this is the new house here. And so this is homes on either side. The other section, you have the other section there, that would show.
Hey, Dave, usually, correct me if I'm wrong, we bury the caissons and we direct overflow or surface drainage into those, and they don't normally bubble out, do they? I mean, they usually are infiltrated under the surface of the earth, so.
And these are, so normally they do have like overflow. Like if you're on a 100-year storm, that doesn't mean that the volume or the rate of runoff leaving the site will be more than a disaster. It just means at that point they've been sized to do their job and overflows.
So all of them that we bury have the potential.
I wouldn't
to
say
flow.
all, but
Pretty much all.
But most, and we're talking at like the 100-year storm event. You know, so like a.
What is that back thing rated for? Is that a 100-year
Yeah.
event? It is.
Yeah.
So that we have two systems out there. The one that takes all the roof runoff, that's the one that has the overflow. It takes it during various stages, like at the 10-year, the 25, and the 100-year. There was this outlet or overflow that allows it to come to that dry well and slowly start seeping out. So what that does is it spreads the storm out and sort of evens or slows down the rate of runoff. It also does, by the way, all the infiltration as well. The other system that I have on there stores all of it doesn't have an overflow. It stores all of the driveway runoff up to the 100-year. So that one, there's two systems. One goes all the way up to 100, and the other one starts letting it out at various stages. But it meets the criteria that no
Right,
increase in
no, I
runoff.
understand that it doesn't increase the runoff.
Right, so up until somewhere between the 50 and 100-year storm, that dry well won't overflow.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's
You have to understand where I'm coming
Yep.
from today. I watched the Weather Channel,
Yeah.
5 to 7 inches.
Yeah.
right.
And watched literally drains spouting up into the air. And they were just-
Our storm is 8.7.
Is 8.5.
8.5. Sorry. So our 100-year storm is 8.5 inches
in how fast time period?
over 24 hours.
24.
So I mean, you know, when I first started this, it was like 6.971, something like that. That's what we would use, 7 inches. And you know,
Tremendous.
so we've even adjusted that over time to kind of take into account changing conditions.
The other thing that is this site is actually good with is the soils that where the system's going is a loamy sand. So it's got hydraulic soils from the propane, so it's going to get a lot of exfiltration.
And I have to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. I'll add on. Yeah. It wasn't related to. It was just another little piece of this. Go ahead.
I'm just surprised that we don't have a context drawing, because that's something we've always required, just so we can see how the new house fits into the neighborhood, the relative sizes of neighboring houses, but we're not gonna, you know, get a sense of that with this one. I just don't know why didn't we require that in this case?
We do have these two sections
Yeah,
that
it's
show
sections,
comparative
but-
of site, you know, sizes.
Yeah, I see the sections, but
Yeah.
they don't really show the whole context.
The context includes the house size and the lot size, so it gives us
Specific.
Yeah, it gives us a baseline to measure against.
I mean, why did you think that wasn't necessary?
I thought these would suffice. I planned to push some more for the sections and.
The other section has the photographs of the houses. So you might open that one, but you have to zoom in to see them. It's hard to see them on the screen.
Just the top section.
Well, it shows a couple of them, but they're linear.
Yeah, the other one's right. Well, I mean, it gives you the context if it's driving down the road.
It doesn't give us the
Yeah,
area.
usually we get like a bird's eye view, so we can see within the whole neighborhood.
It's a very linear street. It's
Yeah, yeah.
flat.
Do you know what the area is of the adjacent houses? Without showing us.
I know.
No, they don't. I don't think we should, I think that this should be an exception,
Mm-hmm.
just for future reference.
Gotcha.
Okay. Peter, anything else you want to?
No, unless you have other specific questions about the site and the grading and the drainage, turn over to Angela. Did you want to do landscape?
Landscape, I think is next.
Sure.
Let's take a look at the landscape. Oh, really?
So as Peter talked about, the front corner, which is the northeast corner, is remaining intact. There's a very substantial existing woodland buffer that we want to preserve. Also, the entire back of the property will be preserved with mature pine, oak, woodland. So again, with the drainage flowing, captured and then flowing towards the back of the property, there's a large area of buffer to infiltrate, and the roots will be preserved. We would like to remove 9 trees. Most of them are extremely tall, 70-foot white pines that have double, triple trunks and single trunks. The largest ones are the 3 very close to the existing house and the proposed house, and a couple on the east side, and one really huge one in the back.
Could you just, the 3 there, 2 next
So
to the house?
These 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's a stump, 9. Or did I not?
Counted that one.
Maybe this is a 14-inch. I think that's one of them. And then there's an 8-inch and 2 6.
All right, so.
How many is
we'll do
that?
11.
Yeah, so there's 9 large pines and there's 3, so that's actually 12. 3, 8, 6, 6.
So is there something wrong with them?
Owners actually live across the street and experienced over the winter huge pine limbs at the top of a tree falling on top of the car.
The street is still littered with pine limbs to this day. I live across the street, and I would be thrilled to have those trees cut down. They're ugly, they drop things, and I'm afraid they're gonna fall on my property, so They have no aesthetic value whatsoever, as far as I'm concerned. I think they're a danger.
What about the largest one?
Could you just identify yourself?
Yes, I'm Alicia Sargent. I live at 38 Willard, which is directly across the street from.
Thank you. Sorry, Steve.
In the back
Yeah,
is, again, huge white pine. It's a triple trunk, 70 feet tall. This is the southern exposure, so in addition to that one too, and the back is the yard area for play. So in addition to getting that down for safety, opening up for a little bit of light into the house. And we would like to, you can see the black with the canopies are the ones that are going to remain. So there's still full canopy coverage around the perimeter. And we are proposing to add 13 new evergreen trees between some 10 and 12 feet and some 12 and 14. So we're actually going to be getting in a lot more of that lower screening, dense evergreen in the visual range than nothing and a little bit of pine 70 feet tall. And we're also proposing 13 rhododendrons 5 to 6 feet, keeping a deciduous, it's about 10 foot tall hedgerow of euonymus across the front.
Wind one?
Euonymus.
Rain?
I think so.
No. It's an invasive species.
I would love to take it out.
Yeah, we would love it to take it.
Great.
It needs to be replaced with something else.
Do you have a count of the?
I don't think
That-
that's,
that's existing? Okay.
it's existing. I think that they would prefer to have it, the front yards being a little bit more open. The character of that neighborhood is actually buffers and woodland areas between the houses and around the backs, and then more open in the front yard because it is a dead-end street. There's a lot of young kids. They're actually playing in the street across the front yards. So, if anything, we could wrap it with the rhododendrons a little farther up. But if we could leave
I defer
a little
to
bit
Kim,
more
who's
openness.
obviously been at the site, then
I think they would like that in this particular neighborhood. That's more of a character than full wrap screening.
Do you have
Or
a
we can
count
leave
of the
the
medium or large trees that you're keeping? You preserve?
Now, are any of the tall trees going to be preserved?
30, all of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45 at least. And then this is all woodland as well that's going to be preserved.
Can
So
you point
at
out-
least 50 trees.
Can you
45.
point out what's new and what's existing, or point out where the new rhododendrons and everything is? Because you can't tell looking at that plan what's new and what's old.
Yeah, the red circles are proposed.
So like, which are the rhododendrons, which are the new proposed trees, et cetera?
I wish I had a hard copy.
Um,
So there's white spruce, rhododendron,
Yes.
concolor fir. I'm trying to keep it with the woodland character so they're interspersed among the under the tall pines. This helps. So you can see the red circles are proposed. The black circles are existing in their canopies, and then to be removed are the black with the X.
Where will the
Right there, in a line.
So this is all being, we want to make it a native, preserve the native woodland and add into it where we're taking those really big pine trees down to get some of that lower evergreen fixed in.
Yeah.
Is anyone against it?
Oh, the euonymus?
Yeah. Are you
No, you can't.
against removing it?
Are we against removing what?
The euonymus
The hedge?
hedge.
Yeah, we could use that. I thought part of it was preserving as much as possible, so we tried to do that. The ones that we were removing were either within the footprint or more or less a safety hazard, so that if the board does not like those trees in the front, we would be happy.
We're not necessarily against that border in the front, but that is an invasive species. It's, yeah, where they're old and been there for a long time, and they just, and we have in our regulations, we have certain ways where you allow people to remove the bushes.
You got the roundup out there now. I'm sure
Are you talking about exterior lighting? Is that you?
Oh,
or
yes.
Who's doing that?
Cheryl has the
I have
spec
hard
sheet.
copies, but I believe you have them electronically if you want to pull it up. I mean, I have hard copies.
You
You have it
show
on-
them right there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The red dots, I think, are exterior lights, are they not?
Yeah.
So if you just tell us what they are and what the range count is, that would be
I
great.
can hand out, if you want to hand out this to the board, the schedule of lighting, and then I have actual, like, what the path lights look like.
So total lumens is 8,400, 8,500.
9,000.
Oh, was that a difference? That's different than this one.
What have you changed? Yep. Well, no, but then if you took that out, what did you add it? You added two of those. You added two.
Oh, that's right. Because, so we had a pendant, at the front porch, but because of the height, we can't do the pendant, so we're gonna do a sconce on either side of the front.
Okay, so the pendant is out.
The pendant is out.
But instead, an additional sconce is being put in, or two additional sconces?
Two additional.
So
We have
it's 8 sconces
Yeah.
at 300. Okay.
And then the path lights, which are the low voltage 10 watt. So we're, again, on this project, minimal lights, path lights plus egress. 2 at the front door, 2 on the garages, back door, and at each back door.
Okay, so if my math is right, the lighting change you just talked about brings the total lumens up to 9,993, right? Or no? Yes.
I have 9,240.
Yeah, 9.2.
9,200 and what?
Yeah, but 300 times 8 is not correct. 9,000.
So that is right, so because 8 fixtures of that should be,
Yeah, the lumens are the bottom number, not the,
not the top.
well, I guess it depends on whether.
It's not 300, Imai, it's
Oh, it's
1125.
1125. It's a watt.
It's
Okay.
8 times 1125
Gotcha.
plus,
That's why it's.
plus 9 times 27.
So it's 9,000.
Can 743. 10,743 is what we get. Not 800. Okay, so we're okay with the numbers?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
All right.
Someday I'll have the right rule, meet the right numbers.
Good. All right, thank you. Are you, is that everything that you had to present to us? All right, then I guess we could go to, Keith, you're going to talk about the architecture?
Yes.
All right, all set. Yeah. All right.
I guess we could start with the RGFA plan. They live in a house across the street that's similar size, and when I came onto the project, they were working with a modular company, but it was not giving them the results they wanted, so they brought me in to make it more in keeping with the neighborhood and New England character of traditional colonial. And I actually downsized the house quite a bit from what it had been as a modular. So right now the RGFA is 4,993, which is comprised of first floor.
I'm sorry, what was that number again?
4,993.
Okay.
The first floor living area is 1,995 square feet. The garage is 848 square feet, and the second floor is 2,150. We're fully developing the attic space that's under the wings that are off to the side as living space, so there's nothing left on the first or second floor that isn't fully developed as living space, except what's below the eaves and 5 feet of space and less. Conventional plan, single entry colonial with garage to the right, bedroom connecting the wing. If you wanted to go to the elevation, so we can talk about that. Number 2.
This one?
Cross sections.
That's cross sections.
Those are the elevations.
Counts and plans. No, that's the letter. You don't have the elevations?
You gave them to me.
I know I did, yeah.
Yeah. You got them?
It's a good thing we have these dress rehearsals. When we're ready for Broadway, we're really ready.
Yeah. This is actually my first time to do it electronically, and I always have the boards, one of the boards, and half people can see it, and I can't.
So go to.
There we go. All right, so this is the elevation from the street. We have the main body of the house with some attic dormers, but there's no stair to the attic, so that's not counted as developed space. Master bedroom and a bath for the fourth bedroom is off to the left, and another bedroom is above the garage on the right-hand side. The wings are more of a salt box kind of shape, whereas the center part is a traditional colonial volume. Shingle finish, the sort of normal kind of colonial trim. So it's pretty much in keeping with everything that's, there's pretty much a lot of things that are new in the town and in the area. And it has these on the back elevation, that one. Opens up through the sliding doors to the family room and breakfast space, and then a large opening with skylights into the kitchen, and then bedroom windows that are all bedroom and some bathroom windows that are all on the second floor. We have the garage on the left. The family room is the 3 windows to the right with the 3 sliding doors. And then there's a recessed entry that's got a roof over it that goes into the mudroom from the backyard, as well as there being a direct connection through the mudroom on the rear. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's just a fairly straightforward plan. Fits all within the setback, the zoning setback, so there's no.
What's the ridge height above average grade? Is that dot dash line, is that 37 feet at the top, just above the ridge?
Not the actual ridge itself, I think it's 33 feet.
33, 40.
33 feet.
33 feet above
Or
average
below
grade.
the maximum height.
Okay. And do you happen to know the existing houses RGFA?
I don't.
Most of the residents are here, so.
The existing house.
Oh, the existing, oh, okay.
I believe it's
28?
Yeah, 28.
Yeah.
All right, so we didn't get that information. We didn't ask for that.
That was on your application.
Yeah, no, I think we did initially.
Yeah. Yeah.
We submitted that.
And the house is bigger because the rooms are sized for modern family with kind of
No,
spaces that
it's just-
people like.
It's one of the metrics that we use. I mean, we're trying to get a sense of what these things are.
2100.
'Cause that includes the garage?
I don't know.
There's a 2-car garage that's freestanding.
Oh, on the freestanding. I don't believe so, no.
I didn't count the garage. 2,100 not including the garage. All right, so
And there's-
call it,
and plus there's a shed.
call it 3,000.
Property too.
Yeah, plus there's a shed, so that all gets
All of that.
removed.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Anything else, Keith?
No, I think that pretty much covered it for me.
All right. Comments from the consultants. I assume, Dave, that you're okay with what they're proposing for
It's very
the
vanilla.
site engineering.
This site engineering is nothing tricky about it. It's not-
Yeah. And Kim, what's your sense of the landscape?
I mean, at the site walk, we did look at that large pine in the back as something that might be worth saving. Might be worth it to have an arborist take a look at it to see if it's structurally compromised before taking it down, because it's so
It's the big one.
substantial.
The big one right at the no disturb line, right
Yep.
there. Yeah. Are there a couple of retaining walls in this site, or is that my imagination?
It looks like there's one in the front.
Yeah.
Right here. What is, how high is that one?
That was just, to hold the existing grade to preserve
Yeah.
the woods. It goes from grade up to about 18 inches and it's dry stacked over walls. There's currently a wall that comes straight out from the existing house, right here. So this is your grade change. It's just gonna be pulled back.
Is there one in the backyard, or?
No.
No.
That's just the,
There's an existing one right in the
That's just
backyard.
the contour, right close to the buffer.
Looks like it's a double line.
No, it's the contour next to
Oh, next to the no
next to
disturb
the
line?
end of the lawn.
Okay.
I can see it because I'm this close, but it does look.
just to get a level area
Yeah.
in the back and keep the grade really tight at the back to preserve the woodland.
What's happening at the end of the driveway?
There is a wall there.
Yeah, how high is that one? And is it a curb at the top, or?
Yes.
You're not gonna put a fence there or anything, or what are you planning to do?
Say, think it's 3 feet at the highest point, it's under 3 feet. And that includes the height above the driveway.
It's 3 feet, the height above the driveway is, how far are you going above the driveway?
6 inches.
So it's a curve. Okay. And it's 3 feet at the angle?
The highest point is at the, yes, at the corner.
At the corner. Okay. If it's higher than 3 feet, it needs a finding from the zoning board of appeals.
It's under 3 feet.
Okay, you said 3 feet.
Under 3 feet.
100 feet. Okay, so we need to verify that.
Can I just like bring up a little cautionary note to the planning board and to the town planner? If you, just because I was looking at the Hinckley cut sheets, and here it's got, the socket is 100-watt medium, regular Edison base, dark sky with DSL M-40. So I decided to look up what a DSL M-40 is. And it's a very easily removable.
Oh.
Well, it's a socket. It's just a special thing, so.
What's it rated for?
Well, no, that's not the issue. The issue is how easy it is.
I got it, so
Screw,
does the
yeah.
picture have a rating?
It's 100 watt. Regular Edison is 100 watt. I mean, it's just like, we're just going on the blanket assumption, that if it says dark sky compliant, that it is, but in fact, these are modified and they're easily
They're showing us their
unmodified.
numbers, but the number it has to do with the screw in,
Right.
not the rating of the
Right,
picture itself.
but it is special, $47.20.
I'm not clear on what it does.
I think it's just down. No
It's got
light
a
comes
shield
out
on
of
the side of it.
Yeah.
The bulb, yeah.
So that it's only
The
shining
dark
this
sky
bulb
converter
down as
socket
opposed to a
accessory.
bulb which shines 280 degrees.
But we should carry the rating of the fixtures, not the rating of the screw and attachment. That's gonna.
That's the 1125 map.
Yeah, we're just wondering how, is it a bulb, or does the bulb slip up in there and be shielded? How does that work? Is a 100-watt bulb screw into this thing? I mean, this is the whole thing. How does this accomplish its docket compliance?
15,
That's the
right?
bulb.
This is the bulb. So
Right.
this
So
bulb
the
is
light
$47?
comes right down here.
Like, this bulb is $47? Yeah.
So it's LEDs are expensive.
Yeah, this is a $47 bulb, and I'm just kind of thinking about, I know you guys will probably always use the very expensive bulb, but I'm just wondering.
It's rated for 100 watts, so you can unscrew that thing
Yeah.
and just screw in a 100-watt bulb. So what we need to do is get the fixture rating. Typically,
Yeah, that's what we have to work off
the
of.
wattage is you multiply wattage by 15 to get the lumens. So the fixtures probably are going to be rated for around 1,500 watts apiece, not 1125.
It is based on 100 watt. Now, a 100 watt bulb is
But-
1125.
No, Roy says 15 times,
15.
Yeah.
1,500 watts.
Well,
Oh,
so
you know
it
what?
says
Oh, it's
75 watt
75.
max
Yeah.
for the strongest, and that is 1125 maximum lumens,
Oh, well,
and
you
that's
got
the
this
max.
rated for 100, right?
So we did.
It's right here.
The first one.
The one they just handed out to us is rated for 100.
That's the pendable charge.
What about the sconce then?
75.
Okay.
So the lumens are correct.
Good.
The bulb.
All right, so for everybody, that's how we rate these, is on regular watts, because it's just, that's not going to happen.
But if you put a regular
Yeah.
lamp in
Yeah.
there. it's not
So so the calculation's
Right.
correct, Sue.
Right.
But
Okay,
it is because it's got cross glass,
Okay,
so it's not directing the light out of clear
okay, because
glass.
it's shielded, and we do accept
Right.
that.
And it's got a cover on
It's
it,
diminished, right.
so I don't know how you can get more dark
So
sky.
it's directing it down.
Yeah.
With that particular fixture, with that fitting, it directs it down.
There's no spill off to the side. for us to think about.
Yeah, I had the impression that it was the bulbs were
Right, because they were shielded and up in the space. No, I don't.
I think it's just a conversion.
In this case, that's not the case.
Yeah, I think that there are fixtures that are designed that way. And then there's fixtures that can be dark sky compliant if you buy this $50 bulb.
The fixture itself is done.
the attachment makes it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're
Really
clear.
hard to line it fully, dark sky compliant.
Oh,
And still get style that match. They're kind of.
Limited
Look,
from what they are.
yeah.
He thought that we were seeing more and more selection for dark sky.
Because they have
It's the
bulbs.
bulbs.
And we just never bothered to look up what the SLM-40 was before. It was a special.
Well, the difference is the advantage of these LED lights is they last for a very long time. So there's a real advantage for lighting.
Right, so is this an LED light? It's not halogen or anything else? Okay, so it will last for like 25 years.
So you spend $50 on a bulb and you're not out there.
Or you can have LED.
We're getting out.
Yeah, it's always now. That's interesting.
So that's fine. So we're all set on the lighting. That works out. We're agreed that the schedule is correct as it is. Okay. Comments from the neighbors. I don't imagine we're going to get any negative comments from the neighbors, right?
No. No, I would just add a couple things. I'm 26 Willard Road, my name is John O'Connor. I think my house is probably somewhat similar in size and scope of this, maybe slightly smaller. I think it's like 3,300 square feet, not counting the garage or whatever. You know, in addition, on the tree issue, like our neighbors are directly across the street had a tree come through their house. This was several years ago. I'm sure you guys find the records or whatever. They fall all the time. So in terms of the safety issue and aesthetics, I completely agree with that plan. This, like, our street needs help. Like, our street needs help. This side of the street, these homes are not well kept. They're old. So, you know, obviously, I have vested interest in keeping the neighborhood, you know, relatively consistent with where it is, but also nice. And Joe and Cheryl came to us and spent an hour and a half going through their plan in very, very detailed manner. And, you know, I'm fully supportive of what they want to do.
Anyone want to add to that?
Yeah,
By the way,
we're directly across the street, 38 Willard Road, Daryl Sargent.
We're gonna be looking at the house.
We would fully support the plan.
Did you identify yourself? I'm sorry.
Yes.
John O'Connor.
John O'Connor.
26.
And by the way, could people sign in too, just so we have your names for records
Yeah.
maybe later?
Take pictures of your license as
Did you want to make a comment, sir, or if you just, are you just? in
No,
general?
I've lived on that street since 1957, and every winter, there's days when we can't get out because the trees have come down, blocking the road.
Right.
So somebody has to come with a chainsaw. So I have no problem taking down whatever white pines need to be taken down. And the street needs help. It's an old street with old houses.
And all of the ugly trees.
It is, basically it is.
All right.
And my house and Joe's house are the only, you know, recent houses.
All right.
My name is Fred Woodside, I live in 46 Willard.
All right. Anyone else want to, in the audience, want to make a comment at all? In that case, Sue, did you want to,
Yeah.
anything else you wanted
What
to
do
say?
we call that big thing we always get our first board? The board,
Context.
the context. I'd really like to see that. I mean, can we continue the hearing? Maybe not for the full month here, but I would really like to see that. Because.
See what?
See what?
The context. Because it's very hard for us, it's required, it's been required ever since I've been on the board, we've always had it. I know how I feel about making exceptions,
Yeah.
right?
What if we? What if we do this? We can schedule the decision for a date certain. if they just come in with a context drawing so before that day,
Yep.
we can review it
Right.
in connection with reviewing the decision.
Being parallel.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Does that
No
work?
problem with that, but because I'm sure it's fine, it's just, this is one of our requirements.
Yeah.
And the
Check
moment
off
we
that.
start making exceptions,
Right.
You could pull up the GIS neighborhood map right now.
It's
We
really,
would get numbers.
it's really comparative square footages, and it's not just footprints, so it's helpful. And
is that why it was done?
Not in this case, but the other one I did was like 20 hours to go back to the GIS, to pull up every assessor's record card, get all the owners, they're not even current.
listen, it's not about that, all right?
I know it's not.
It really isn't. It's
Making a
about,
note
The
that it-
standard that we require, and it's kind of surprising that it wasn't taken
yes,
care of.
Diana.
We could just do, like on a poster board, a locus map with photos of the houses and the little, it doesn't have to be
The square
20 hours.
footages. Yeah, I don't see why that would take that long.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, as a,
That
speaking
would
as
be a lot easier
speaking as
than
an architect, I think we could, that would
Photoshop.
be, for me, that
The
would take
children
20
can do
hours.
drawing.
Is there a good example online that?
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to Imai.
Yeah.
Every application,
They're
this
talking
is the only application I've seen that
It
doesn't.
doesn't have,
Right.
and I've never heard that they were that.
Every
honest.
other presentation we've ever seen starts with a context. And we're just saying,
There are apologies for missing.
no, that's all right. I think the message.
We definitely would do
Yeah.
this.
Spino's heard the message loud and clear.
And EMI has been great working with us too, so I.
Well, we don't know, we're gonna have to take him out this log and.
Yeah. He's gonna get whipped
It's
at
going
the
so well for EMI.
He's in trouble now.
So we're holding things off until we get that, or are we saying?
No, we're gonna go ahead and
Parallel.
schedule the hearing, and then we'll take a look at it as a simultaneously with reviewing the draft decision. So we don't hold you up an extra
Okay.
meeting just for that
Okay,
one thing.
Would we send it to Elon?
Yes, Steve, you had some
Yes.
comments?
First of all, we need to decide what to do about that pine tree in the back. I don't think it should be a given that it's coming down. If that requires arborist, like you suggested, I think that should be required. The other thing is, we didn't talk about irrigation, generator, those kind of things.
Right, they're not on the landscape plan, so I assume. you
No
have
irrigation system,
No
right?
irrigation and no generator.
So air conditioning units, whether
Yeah.
we need to or not, and the left is the generator.
All right, have they signed off on the noise?
That'll be a condition. They've been informed of the noise requirement, that it's gonna be 40 decibel noise requirement.
All right.
And,
And irrigation.
yeah, what's the story with irrigation?
They haven't proposed an irrigation system, but they've been informed of the well requirement.
Anything else, Steve?
Nope.
All right. Anybody else?
How wide is the driveway?
14 feet.
The arborist has to see that tree.
12 feet. 12 feet.
That's what I wanted to say.
And
It's the existing fire department.
Is it?
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
it has to
approve
sign
it.
off on it.
Yeah.
The arborist, so before we can make the decision, I'm just factoring in when we do this, how fast it takes to get an arborist out there, get a decision, get an opinion written out, sent to you.
Which one is it, Steve?
The big one in the back.
See the biggest
It's not gonna
dark
drop
circle
limbs on
in
the
the
street.
back?
It's not
Right
gonna
on
fall
the,
over in the house.
What if it falls on a kiddo? Safety situation.
It is.
Well, you can say that about every
Because
tree.
About-
There's, not every tree, not every tree,
That's
not every tree.
Well, that's why we're talking about an arborist.
So that plan is 10 scale, just so you know, and so that tree is about 30 feet from the patio, and it's the lawn area for playing is only about 25 feet across, so it's not a large area of lawn or backyard. And the canopy, the diameter of the canopy for that tree is easily 25-foot diameter, so coming out into that area about half of the lawn. The canopy effect.
I'm always amazed at Cambridge having trees at all.
Well, there are other types of trees, deciduous sycamores and oaks and maples, which have deeper taproots. The white pines are
Now, I understand that they're pretty brittle and that they do lose
notorious.
in storm, but
You should drive down the street like today.
yes.
Like literally drive down and see, I had, Weston guys moving pieces of these things that had fallen and blocked my drive. I couldn't get out if the guy plowing the street did, and it's actually still there. I mean, the same flock. I don't know if that's
We
what it's called.
understand, actually, we all
Not
live
on
in
our-
Weston, we all
Yeah.
have probably a lot of trees on our property.
Yeah.
Have a fair amount of wind.
Okay, good.
What's the consensus? Require arborists to come and evaluate it or not? Extra expense? Kim recommends it, but
I'm just saying for previous projects, something of that caliber that was outside of the actual zone of development, we usually ask for another iteration inspection. I'm not gonna make a call on a tree because I'm not sure standpoint, but I would like to, I would
get an
suggest.
arborist recommendation before the.
It's not a standard skinny with a little, again, it's one of these low branching.
Yeah, like it.
Would you say Steve like what? I just saw a beautiful white pine that was seen at the Gropius house in Lincoln. So it sounds like you might like
Which one is it?
that. This is here, right?
You can see the limbs that have fallen off.
Sometimes a little addition will change in there and you take off lines that maybe you're going to fall down.
And cable and the trunks together.
Is that where it splits? Right here? That's where it splits?
Right, and that needs to be investigated because we're started. We're not certified arborists, it's worthwhile to somebody look because it's a nice tree.
I mean, in the past, you've conditioned it, that you make every intention to save it unless it was, if it needs to slow down your process. It could just be a note on the plan.
That's not bad. Just condition.
It's a liability issue. If somebody's injured, it's a liability issue if somebody's injured by that tree. It's huge.
Forget an arborist.
The state is a liability
Okay.
district in the United States.
Well, the child gets hit. Yeah, and they were desperate to have these trees taken
I'm just
out.
responding to Diana's liability.
What?
I said I was just responding to your comment that it's a liability, and we
It
were
is.
commenting up here that means that probably every tree in the United States that might come down in a windstorm is a liability.
But these trees are notorious for it, and the neighborhood's concerned. And one of the applicants nearby almost lost their life in the past 4 months. It's like
How
kind
do
of
you
a
know that?
serious
Lose
thing.
their lives?
Yeah. Yeah.
I will tell you, I will say I was out there snow blowing underneath one of the trees, and it was heavy, heavy, wet snow. It was in February. It was February 12th or so. And yeah, I have the picture and everything. And I decided to move away from the tree. And within a minute, the tree, the power line, everything was directly where I was. And your son, my neighbor's son drove by. He's the lieutenant with the fire department. He saw the whole thing. And I was very shaken. It would have killed me easily. And I will not let our kids go out and play because of wet snow. I mean, that shouldn't be the case. You should be able to go outside and play, and have a snowball fight with each other. But I won't let, you ask my wife Cheryl, they cannot go out when it's snowing on my own street. So that's why there's a little bit of passion behind, and you've heard it from some of the neighbors that can all attest to it, why we're interested in not removing every tree, but dangerous ones that continuously drop down on our cars, on our street. And that one almost took me out. And I don't know, I think someone's looking out for me because I was joking with my wife because it would have waked me on my 50th birthday. So I think I lucked out, but that's where some of this is coming from.
And my passion is, I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old that plays with his kids, you know, in their yard. And they were actually in my yard for one of the last ones. And I have a baseball wall that I made and a big branch came down. I'm sitting there working, looking out my window, watching them make icicle, you know, snow cones, and then see this thing come down. And so if my kids are gonna be playing in that yard, I would advocate. Someone else figure it out.
I have a master's degree in ecological design. I'm not an arborist, but my degree is in ecology and planting trees in native habitats, in native communities, and I'm all for trees. I'm always adding trees and plants and plants. And in this case, these white pines are not like every tree in the country. They're huge. And it's a very narrow street. They're very small houses. And I've seen them. I met with them over a year ago and saw the branches that came down, walked up the street, saw them all over. And we've proposed more trees that are being taken out, new trees to put in. I guarantee you a lot of these white pines were actually planted as screening trees 50, 60 years ago. So we're putting in more suitable, better evergreens that are not going to create any problems.
Well, what's the sense of the board? What do you guys say?
Yeah, was it a part of a cluster? Does taking down that tree weaken other trees around it? To isolate the tree?
No, so as I was saying, typically we see these white pines that are planted very close together and they become these really skinny, you know, columns with a little bit of canopy at the top. This one is more open, it was grown more open.
So it doesn't,
you know,
doesn't attach to a root network or doesn't?
Right, I don't know. I'm just saying, in the past, when a tree of that size is proposed to come down, the board typically wants some other kind of, an arborist to take a look at. That's all I'm suggesting.
But the condition of so many of these trees tends to be, they're searching for the light, and so they're top heavy. And it's easy to see where they can come down when they're 70 or 100 feet tall.
Right.
In this case, it wasn't isolated, so it had branches that were lower lying as well. So it's a more balanced tree.
And my guess is, you know, from what I'm hearing about the neighborhood, that these will probably have not been maintained.
Right, it sounds like they're not maintained at all.
Which might be, it might be too late for that. I don't know.
And that's why we would hire an arborist to determine that.
Or you can, I mean, it's your decision.
Well, I would say that, I mean, he had a terrible scare. I also would say that I probably, in high winds with wet snow, I wouldn't be out with my snow blower. But that was your decision, and you did it. And it really scared you very, very much. And so that reason I would say we let this pass because there's a lot, I mean, the whole neighborhood has trouble with trees on that street because I think Kim's absolutely right. They're put in, they haven't been maintained.
Yeah, if it's dropping limbs already.
Right. And you know, it just doesn't sound like it's
I'm
worth
really
it.
comfortable saying we gotta save it.
Yeah, I would just say take it out then.
That's my decision. But I don't know, this, other people?
I'm okay with that.
Everyone's doing it.
Everybody's taking up trees.
All right.
Yeah.
So we'll, because of this tree's already exhibited a tendency to drop limbs, I'd say we probably should let this one go. All right. So this is going to, this has to go to the zoning board of appeals for a finding. All right. I would make a condition that wall at the end of the driveway, at least I'd suggest that the zoning board of appeals that gets surveyed. Just to be sure it's not a structure in the setback.
Quickly, one other thing. So I need to make a couple revisions, the total number on the image chart.
Yeah.
If we're taking out the euonymus in the front, I can remove the wall. And we can grade it out if we prefer to do that.
Is it your suggestion that we
Well,
replace the
so-
euonymus with something, or?
So, just to be clear, the board doesn't typically require removal of invasives. So, if they want to take it out, that leaves a big gap in the front, so you'll have to make that call.
But you also, this is where it would be helpful to see that overlay. You said, and I think I can remember from being down Willard Road, there are, the front yards are open. They are. I mean, that's the neighborhood look, so I see no reason why you want to get rid of an invasive. Invasive, you certainly allow that to go.
Tim, I just wanted to ask you one question. Given the extra mass of the house versus the existing house, are you?
Given the what?
The extra mass, you have the high mark.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with the perimeter buffering with respect to what the abutters see?
I would say it's, as Sue said, it's in keeping with the neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the front, I'm talking about the sides and then the back.
Yeah, the sides are actually decent.
Okay, gotcha.
Were you at the sidewalk?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. But I'm just asking you direct.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, great.
Okay, so just to recapitulate that, the euonymus comes out, but we're not going to require replacement plantings to take their places.
We're not even going to require the ones to be removed.
We're not?
Well, we don't
We
normally,
don't
normally
typically
condition
require
it, yeah.
invasive.
All right, so
But it would be.
you brought it up.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just trying to figure out what
I
you
know.
want to do.
Yeah. But if they want to remove it and open up that front yard, feel free. Yeah.
Okay, so.
So she's just gonna change it. That if your clients want that, you're gonna have that on the plan, you're gonna put out the trees and delineate the trees a little bit as well, and the lights.
So you're gonna leave it up to the applicant to decide whether to keep them or not.
Right.
But what we wanna see is a revised landscape plan, one way or the other. If they're gonna take them out, you wanna see that. Okay, got it. All right?
And would you prefer not to have the wall as a driveway?
It's not that, it's just that,
It must be
it's a red flag, you know, you just wanna be sure you're under that 3-foot limit. That's all. Because otherwise you're gonna, it's one more thing you need to apply to the zoning board of appeals for, that's all. It's a red flag. All right, anything else? Good. Then we'll schedule the draft decision review, what date?
Well, here's, May 3rd is the next meeting, but that's a week away, so you would have to produce the plans by then. The updated plans that either take these out or
Yeah.
or keep
That's
them.
what we're looking at. And the lumen
And
chart.
the lumen chart, yeah.
And the context.
That's a week from today.
That's a week
Let's
from
wait for
today.
today, can you do the context for that, Joe?
Can you produce those things by those times? If not, we're looking at the 17th.
All right,
There's
so
there's more room on the meeting on the 3rd. You can do the 3rd? Is that what you said, or? Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure the paper will install.
Yeah, well, can your consultants produce the drawings by the 3rd? That was the question.
It's gonna be before the 3rd.
Yeah.
It's gonna be at least 2 days before.
So
At
Monday.
least.
No.
No.
Okay, so you want to...
Possibly the changes to the landscape plan, but I can't.
This is the one with the pictures of the
So that's the
you do it for
17th.
the 17th.
So it's the 17th then. Yeah.
Done it. You can do the carpool at the assessor's office. We do them all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, yes, it can be done by the 3rd.
Okay.
They're gonna do the context board,
Yep.
and
First.
I'll get the surveyor.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So we're
Great.
scheduled for the 3rd.
For the 3rd, yep.
Right.
Paperwork's in by the first.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all.
Yes. Yeah,
That's a copy of it. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
We may need you for.
That's a good neighborhood. That's a very good neighborhood.
That's so funny. Thank you. Thanks again. Thank you.
I think now we're ready to talk about the citizens petition for double cut driveways, which we discussed this in the last hearing. So
Yeah.
we know what the story is here.
Yeah.
What we're doing is voting on our recommendations to the moderator.
And are you taking any, are you closing the public hearing?
Well, did you say everything you had to say at the last meeting?
If I could, I'd like to say.
Is anything that you have to say tonight different from what you said before?
I think so, at least two things.
All right. Connie, go ahead.
Thank you. First, I just wanted to mention that I did email Eli on 2 occasions looking for a copy of the proposals that you would put up on the board, and instead I just got your draft decision. I was hoping to take a look at what the planning board is proposing for their
What draft
original.
decision, I'm sorry? What draft?
I sent you a link to that.
Yeah, the link was the your draft decision. That's what I got.
What decision are you talking about?
Your decision tonight.
Oh, the draft recommendation.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was hoping, it's dated April 26th, but I got it some time ago from email. So unfortunately, I'm not able to comment directly on your proposed decision, because you mentioned here in your draft decision that you're hoping to work on promulgating a policy, and that it would become a standard in your rules and regulations. So I didn't get a chance to review that.
All right. I'm sorry. I don't know what the miscommunication was with the planner, but here's what we're proposing.
Well, I can't really
You can't read it?
read it really
No?
fast right now.
Well-
I'll do my best.
Well, what we're doing is we're saying what we're going to do, and this is what we've described to people in previous applications, where we've had issues with driveway removal, double cut driveways, expansion into RGFA limits and so forth. What we're trying to do, and we've describe this in general is get a sense, plug the double cut driveways into the overall context of hard surface area in property development, so that you take a look at the whole hard surface impacts, of which this would be one element, and work out a set of standards for dealing with those hard surface impacts. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, if you're talking about drainage, and your stormwater policy already exists, the proposal that I put forward already carves out an exception that would be a reason that this board could deny.
What we're saying is that we think instead of just focusing on this one thing, double cut driveways, and pegging that to two of our standards and criteria, what we're suggesting is making that consideration part of an overall evaluation of the hard surface impacts on a site. And so we think this is, while we understand that double cut driveways are an issue, we want to put them into an overall context rather than just isolating them, making them into a zoning bylaw, and then pegging that one thing to only two of our standards and criteria.
Well, I understand that's...
And this is, we talked about this last time. What I asked you at the beginning is there anything that we didn't discuss last time that you want to discuss tonight?
Well, I didn't get a chance to see that.
All right, you didn't see that. But what is it that you want to...
The other item is I wondered if your board member, Mr. Flynn, obtained an opinion from the Ethics Commission, because I did speak with the State Ethics Commission about whether or not he could sit and vote on my proposal.
I'll leave the answer to that to Mr. Quinn.
Yes, I did, and I also talked to the chairman. I also reviewed with the board, planning board. I also reviewed it with the chairman of the board of selectmen, and I also talked to the town moderator. And I conclude that I continue to remain. I stand on my position that I'm unbiased on this matter. And I filed a 23B(C) disclosure form on that.
I did not have an opportunity to see that disclosure form. I submit that under 23B(3), Mr. Flynn should not be voting on this tonight. Other than that, I think I just want to reiterate that the proposal that I put forward is really to codify historical...
So you're repeating what you said the last time.
Well, I think I'm entitled to just wrap it up here. So.
We're entitled to wrap it up. Wrap it up. Okay.
I wrapped it up.
All right, good. I don't know what you're asking of me with respect to Mr. Flynn's decision. In my opinion, it's his decision.
I absolutely agree it's his decision, and I hoped that he would have obtained an opinion from the State Ethics Commission and reviewed the statute as I have, and I am an attorney.
Well, Connie, I just want to say that we're talking about arriving at the same place in different ways, and so
Well,
all we're saying is,
I don't think we are.
all right, I know you don't agree with that. That's what we.
I'm talking about keeping in practice something that this town has had for hundreds of years, and suddenly this board has decided double-cut driveways are something you want to remove, prohibit, deny. And so my proposal is to codify it in the zoning bylaw so that homeowners will know, they will know.
Dual driveways are allowable if no width is not more than the permitted percentage of the overall hard surface area. That's where we're heading. So we're moving off of an absolute prohibition of double cut driveways. We just want to put them into a holistic context. So
But what's
we're trying to
happening
get
is
to the same place.
You're going to have a house that has been built maybe in the past 15 years on a scenic way that suddenly comes before you because it's on a scenic road, and they have had this circular driveway for 15 years, and you could tell them remove it.
Well, they try to do that on Country Drive. It's not even a scenic road. The driveway has been double cut for 12 years. And because of a potential addition of a pool house, you are trying to get the guy to remove the double cut driveway. It's been there for 12 years. It's preposterous.
I don't want to go over this ground again. We are charged by the courts to start from a place prior to any improvements on the site, and then make our decision based on that. What we're trying to do is reach an accommodation that allows for certain conditions to exist that in totality would permit your client, for example, to have his double cut driveway under certain circumstances. And those circumstances is taking into account the impacts of all of the hard surface area on the property, and maybe making trade-offs. If you want to keep the paved area in the front, make it either permeable or reduce the paved area in the back. It'll achieve we want to achieve a balance so that we're not just paving over a front yard, for example, and then also adding something in the back and not taking into account the whole picture. That's what we're trying to get to. And to that end, we've actually hired niche engineering to begin an analysis of the ratio of hard surface to lot size across the whole town. Niche has been working, the whole town? Well, at least the examples that starting with the examples that we've been taking a look at, and reach some kind of set of standards for how we arrive at what is permissible in terms of the overall hard surface area developed on a site. That's what we're trying to do. And that's what we've been promising for months now. I mean, it's not a surprise to anybody.
Can you talk a little bit about the sample size or what niche is actually studying in that survey?
Really just, I wouldn't say studying, I'm just measuring. Like they gave me kind of the draft guidelines that they were looking at. They gave me like 8, say it was 10, and I could only find plans for like 9 homes. And they said, measure these versus what we're looking for. So, I mean, really, it's as simple as that. I'm not offering, make it clear, I'm not offering an opinion on what the numbers mean. Or
we'll have to get to that. I mean, this is gonna be a long process. We're gonna have a number of hearings and discussions on this. And in the end, I'm hoping we'll arrive at an intelligent, holistic approach to this that doesn't automatically preclude one development option all the time. That's what we're trying to do. And we're just saying that this is jumping the gun. We want to put it into context. Yes.
Al, question. The way you're talking, it sounds like that you're probably looking at a regulation, not a bylaw.
Looking at a regulation, yeah.
And that's why, is town council weighed in at what point something like this needs to be a bylaw rather than a regulation, where you're telling what percentage of the lot can be impermeable and what percentage of the frontage can be taken up by?
We've given it to town council. We don't have an opinion back yet from town
But
council.
it seems like it, at that point.
It might have to be a bylaw,
Yeah.
John. I mean, it might. And we'll see. I mean,
The intent is to provide flexibility, but still meet the whole concept of why there was a prohibition on double cut driveways. So in the end, it was intended to as a way of offering flexibility, trade-offs.
But there isn't a prohibition. It's just something that's what I'm trying to codify, that there shouldn't be a prohibition. There's never been a prohibition.
It's not a matter of, it's what we're talking about. What we're talking about is offering flexibility here, right? We're saying when I think one of your concerns is when there's a house that's built below the threshold, and then years later, they're subject to site plan review. And
That's
if
what
that
I'm
house has a double cut driveway, then we say that the driveway has to be removed. That's what I'm referring to.
Which is a relatively new thing.
It's not a relatively new thing.
Brand new.
It's
Never been done.
It's never been done.
No, I think we've seen a great growth of houses that have reached that threshold, that have gone over the 6,000 square foot threshold. That's what's tripped this. There are more and more houses that have tripped that threshold years later, and then required site plan review. The whole concept here is to try to provide flexibility.
Well, I don't know how flexible it is if the homeowner is
I'm
going to be
referring
required
to this proposal.
Well, again, I haven't really had a chance to review.
The devil will
This.
be in the percentage.
I wonder if you might could send that to me.
And for the planning board, a lot of it is how it presents to the street relative to the side setbacks and so
And the rest of the street, I bet.
Yeah, details would have to be worked out.
And how much concern is there from the board about the input of the fire department on the safety factor of having or not having a double driveway? Because some homes are really set to where, in fact, we had a fire last year that the chief told me that unless there was a double driveway, the house would have gone.
We've always said that if there's an exceptional condition on the site, then exceptions can be made.
Because you
And we
brought
have
up
made
in the
them.
last, I'm sorry, you brought up in the last meeting 10 minutes ago that, oh, we want the 12-foot driveway. The fire department wants 14 feet.
That's what they showed. Yeah.
Sorry?
They showed 12.
Sorry?
They showed 12 feet.
They showed 12 feet. That's
No,
what they
but
showed.
the fire department requests 14 feet of us.
You just characterize what we said, though, as insisting on 12 feet. No, they showed 12 feet.
No, the previous applicant showed 12 feet because that's what you would like. The fire department's asking us, builders, to do 14 feet. So we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
On our sign off from them on the permit, they're actually making us put 14 feet.
Right.
They come back and inspect it, and if you get to you guys, you want 12 feet.
Yeah.
So you guys are gonna go with the fire department.
We got to get to the fire.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
agree with that.
important.
I
We'll
agree.
do whatever you want, but.
No, I
go.
agree. We need to coordinate with the fire department. There's no question.
And they're holding it over our heads.
Understood, but that's a separate issue.
Yep.
Yeah, that's.
But it's conflicting, it's too board.
Understood.
But it does relate to this in a sense, because if we're looking at hard surface, they're asking for more, and we're saying how much hard surface can have significant impacts on site conditions and off-site conditions. This is not a simple calculation. We recognize that, but it's a calculation that needs to be made because you don't hear the other side of it from people who complain to us about the impacts of large houses and large surface areas on their properties or on their street. And we hear it over and over and over again, and we've heard it for years. And we're just trying to address that problem that people perceive. And it's a problem that's not localized. We get complaints from all over town that have the same storyline. So we're just trying to set limits to this kind of thing that at least tell people that we're attempting to address problems that they come to us with.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What was the complaint that you're getting over and over?
We're getting complaints about street flooding that never existed before, about site flooding that never existed before, in neighborhoods all over town. The strong sense is that those things didn't exist before the big houses went in with the and so we're saying, and we've seen evidence of it in ourselves, that even though the engineering calculations seem to address the issues that we're all interested in, namely dealing with stormwater runoff, that sometimes those fixes don't work. and that best efforts at managing the water situation in a given neighborhood sometimes don't meet engineering expectations. And we're just trying to say, let's look at it from another direction. Let's look at it from the direction of the impacts of large areas of hard surface on sites and try to establish standards for those altogether.
I would like to point out that the proposal that I put forward did have that exception, that if there was a drainage or stormwater issue, obviously the board could deny it. So that is in there. I find it curious that, are you trying to say that if an engineer comes before the board and says, if these calculations say this will work, you're still open to?
Sometimes they don't.
We've seen it in the real world not work.
So you're not going to be relying on the engineer's calculations? I don't really understand what that means.
Well, what we're going to try to do is establish standards and limits for hard surface so that we're working with the engineer's assumptions and calculations, but also saying, look, you can address this problem several different ways, and this is one of the ways to address it.
So if you have a standard, let's say that you work out with each of a calculation, you foresee increasing the requirements? I'm just trying to understand where you're going with that. So there's like a baseline, and
we're trying to increase pervious surface area as a default for managing stormwater runoff, in addition to engineering calculations for infiltration.
so in addition, so where the last proposal was talking about a 100-year storm, you foresee going beyond a 100-year storm? And
We're just talking about a strategy for increasing pervious area and setting a limit on impervious or hard surface area. Yes.
Yes, it's really early, but I think you ought to factor in the size of the lot too.
Yes, absolutely.
Because, 20,000
Yep,
square foot
yep.
lot.
Yep, for sure.
Isn't there an aesthetic consideration also?
Yes.
To
One of the
the,
things that
amount of hard surface?
one of the things we're concerned about here, and it's in this draft report to the moderator, is that we have a number of different standards and criteria that we also have to take into consideration when reviewing site plan proposals. And those include a requirement that building sites shall, to the extent feasible, preserve natural or historic features, maximize retention of open space, preserve scenic views from publicly accessible location, minimize tree, vegetation, and soil removal, blasting and grade changes, and screen objectionable features from neighboring properties. Building design and landscaping shall be in harmony with the prevailing character and scale of buildings in the neighborhood and the town, including the use of appropriate building materials, screening, and other architectural techniques. So this is one way to begin to codify the relationship of impervious surfaces and materials to those standards and criteria. We have to look at all of the standards and criteria when we're judging a site application. Yeah.
I don't know whether I'm allowed to, whether this is a closed topic or what.
No, it's not closed.
I'm not a lawyer, but I am a scientist. And not to denigrate engineering calculations, they're as good as they go, okay? And as you know, just down the street from me, there's a house, I'm sure there were proper engineering calculations. There's this trail of water, it doesn't take a genius, you could be blind. You can see where the water's coming from, it's out in the street, you have ice flows, big rivulets, all winter, every winter. I suggest that we just wait and let climate change fix it, because people responsible are not fixing it. And when we get maybe one winter day a year, or one day, I'm half joking, but you know, and watching people going to Meadowbrook School having to cope with these huge ice flows and deep ravines. It's sort of funny to watch them with their swimming tanks manipulating in between these ice flows, but the people responsible won't step up. So I think it takes a lot of sand, I must say, to object to and attempt to consider the amount of hard surface, as you call it, as a sort of a catch-all. I don't mean that as a cavalier or casual. I mean a way of looking at something which, how should I say it? It's kind of like the blind man and the elephant. Everybody's little calculation is right in their little domain, and then when you put it all together and you've got this one house and the water's just coming right out, there it is. I mean, can you point to the person who made the mistake? I don't think so. There's probably an engineering calculation that is correct for as far as it went. Maybe it's an applicability issue. I don't really know. I'm not an engineer, but I certainly had the challenge of doing estimates, approximations, things like that that apply in real world situations. The bottom line is, I don't think you can point to somebody and say, that was wrong, or that was wrong. Something has turned up somewhere along the way that either was overlooked or wasn't there to begin with. I don't even know what the reason is that's causing this water to flow out from behind this house. I mean, I've spoken to John Field about it a few times. And, the bottom line is, there are these big, huge chunks of ice filling up the road every winter when there's ice. I mean, when the weather's cold. I mean, it's the only place where, there are times when it's the only place where the ice is wet, and no one is fixing it. So, for that reason, because I have to go that way, that's the only way to escape, because I'm on the side of Dublin Hill, so you have to go like this somewhere. And so that's the way I go, and so I say, well, gee, climate change, spring is coming, this sort of thing. I would like to see that addressed before somebody says, well, we don't really need to do this. I look at it as better safe than sorry, and I'd rather have the planning board use sort of a general, there's a lot of paved surface there, right next to the road, and what if, the engineering calculation is not an absolute be-all and end-all. I guess that's what I want to say about it. I'd like to see it fixed. The people who installed it should fix it.
Can she identify herself and just tell us where she lives?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And the problem?
Susan, I didn't ask for your
I'm
idea.
sorry, Susan Canberg.
What street?
Meadowbrook Road. At the corner of Green Lane.
Okay.
All right. So I think everybody's given us their opinion and their position. And we're going to have to make a report. We're required to make a report to the moderator. And so, anyone want to?
I move we've accepted the
Can I just make a
Yes.
recommendation? I'd like to add, when you say including in this memorandum, I'd like,
the standards.
yeah, I'd like to include standard number 5, which is development shall provide for safe vehicular traffic and pedestrian movement. So I think as we discussed this, I think 2 cuts into the street make it less safe than 1 cut into the street. So is that okay? Is people okay with this?
Say that again, Tony?
Right, no, I'm just saying that this is our responsibility. Yeah, so I just wanted to include that as being probably something that we need to consider.
Yes.
Then I move that we accept the memorandum.
Wait, I'm not quite ready, sorry.
Keep
We're
going.
talking about this?
Yeah.
I feel like there should be something in here which you sort of implied about that. And the only thing said about that is that the board is currently promulgating policy and the basic concepts were exhibited at the April 12th hearing. I feel like we, it should at least talk about what the concept of this policy is to define the limits of permeable surface. Because no one at town meeting is going to, look up on their phones what happened at the April 12th hearing. And it's a huge part of, like you were just explaining, what this is all about.
Okay.
All set. So I move that we accept the memorandum dated April 26, 2017 regarding the annual town meeting warrant article relating to driveway curb cuts with the amendments noted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Good, thank you, everyone. All set.
Here's some stuff for you, you can send to Tech Act.
Okay. Good.
Did you have any questions or add anyone?
Yeah.
It's all pre-signed.
No, actually, I was working on one to present on that.
Did you give a copy to Imai?
He's got copies for you, I got one.
Oh, okay.
So for each one, it looks like this. Who's the purpose that we counted? This is front yard, as you define it, from here out. We added, this was the front yard setback.
Oh, okay.
Defined patterns like.
Oh,
And setback, but and green is front yard. Yellow is the negative, the width at the property line. And then pink is where you hit the road.
It's coming before town.
But then it has to flare at the site.
No, it was just right now.
They don't like it. They've decided after 3 and 40 years.
Even so the existing,
They make it take
You know why? Because you can't back a horse with back up. Hello?
We use that, I don't think that's right, but then when you go all the way around, or, I just.
incorporate that whole thing.
Not the whole thing, but the summation of that thing.
Yeah, they can take it out, they've been
Yeah.
taking people driveways out if they want to put in a
But
garage.
then, you know, I figure, what's
No more
the.
people in the house, just add
But that's fine,
something
so
for a
that's
whole
just,
house.
Put it on as an
And then you got that long driveway.
exactly, I know, so that's the whole point of it, you know?
It's a huge job to just,
So you get that electronic.
usually you have a double drive, if you have the double-sided drive, you usually have something in the middle under the unit.
Requesting from these people to tell them the fire
This is unbelievable. And what's the reason? Is there a practical reason for
Because
not?
they have a bucket of grass.
But I mean, is there an actual, there's no practical reason. It's unbelievable. We don't have a double. How about the street that has double? How about the street that has double? This is unbelievable. I think I'm getting a fever.
Fire department's road 11 on one green lane.
No, that's a
We don't fit. And that's Here it is, okay.
I'm getting a fever here.
Settle it, it's culture shock.
No, but I mean, which is the historical and Brookline, and that was exciting.
Yeah, what they did.
Oh, yeah, because, yeah.
They gave us more intense permutations.
It used to be 7.3. Just did all the numbers, 50 years.
Required with this is the first draft that Elton presented, signed, prepared it.
Angela was my landscape designer in Lincoln. She did a really nice job, because I redesigned the whole.
Okay, so yeah, so I have an option.
I just like to see if those percentages are.
We talked about it on,
She
we
knows
talked
her
about it on
stuff,
Tuesday
too.
after site visit. He went over like, you know, how he did the calcs and, you know, what we were doing for front yard and the various variables he plugged in.
Okay, so I think we're ready to start the next discussion which I think,
Rules and regs update.
well, Sarah, you're here to talk about.
Happy to talk to you. I would really love to hear your rules and regulations discussion, but
It's 60 pages long.
I promise to be very, very brief.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking me out of order. So I didn't bring like the slide presentation because I didn't want to give away my material for town meeting. But I did want to just kind of report to you from the Housing Trust, the Western Affordable Housing Trust. I know Susan has heard this presentation before the Community Preservation Committee, but the Housing Trust has put together a request for funds from the CPA funds to fund the trust in order for the trust to be able to head out to search out essentially a small-scale project where a slightly different model than what we've done before. I'm sort of jumping ahead because I know all of you were here for our Warren Ave project. In the case of Warren Avenue, we have town-owned land that was sold to the trust for $1. And then the trust, together with town assistants, worked with contractors to renovate buildings to put affordable housing units in pre-existing buildings. And the process was pretty grueling. I think that we're really pleased that there are 5 units there, 2 more to come. But it was a public project with all of the difficulties of dealing with the public bid and watching over a contractor that was less than ideal. And in that project, the trust owns the property and will be renting the property. And what we were looking to do was to do the what's in a lot of ways a much more typical model, which is to use public funds to assist and partner with a private developer to create affordable housing. So with our goal in mind of finding a property that would be suitable for something around 2 to 4 to 6 units. Doesn't obviously have to be an even number, but something in that scope. And what the trust would do is use the funds to do sort of preliminary feasibility that's sufficient for us to figure out just some basic parameters of development. A field test, a site plan for conceptual purposes to figure out, kind of where could you site, where would a building envelope be, and how many buildings might you be able to fit on the lot. An appraisal, because an appraisal will be required, because if the trust purchases the property, just as when the town purchases land, you can't pay more than the appraised value of the property. So the funds would be used for some preliminary feasibility. If the project seemed like it was feasible, then the trust could purchase the property, and then through a request for proposal process, put out a request to private nonprofit developers who would bid to partner with us to build affordable housing that would be for sale to affordable home buyers. And the trust would turn the property over to the private developer, again, a nonprofit developer, and all of the housing on the site would be affordable. So unlike the 40B projects that we often see, the home ownership projects where, or also with the rental projects where under 40B, the developer will provide 25% of the units on the lot as affordable and the rest are market rate units. In this case, we would be talking about 100% affordable. So just like Warren Ave, where all the units that are built are rented to the people who are income eligible. In this case, it would be eventually all the people who buy these units would be income eligible buyers and, in perpetuity. So there would be deep restrictions on
This is
the
a
property.
partnership model.
It's a partnership model. And probably the kind of leading inspiration for this is meeting a few times with the director of the Greater Boston Division of Habitat for Humanity. And people have often heard of that nonprofit, but one of the great benefits of their program is they're a charity that has quite a bit of money. So they often are buying in communities where the land values are quite low, or they're getting things from a tax title situation where they may pay like, you know, $20,000 or $50,000 for a lot. And then they use their funds, donated labor, and then the homeowners themselves, it's a sweat equity model where the homeowners themselves help build the homes, or if they can't build the homes because of, you know, physical issues, they, you know, will help in the office. In our case in Weston, we realized that there's no way that this type of model could happen without a public subsidy. So the CPA dollars help by, obviously, the land cost is you know, probably the biggest obstacle that any developer would have. A second big obstacle is neighborhood opposition often. And the trust, as you know, we're all volunteer board members like all of us residents of the town. We have a commitment to work through, work with our neighbors, create a small scale project. We're not trying to, you know, blow out the lot and build something awful that people won't like. We've often said to people, well, if we do that with your money, our job will be done, and we will not get any future projects. So, and as we did with Warren Avenue, I would expect that we would need, frankly, quite a bit of assistance from the planning board, which is one of the real reasons I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to at least, you know, present the ideas to you. So, for example, before turning over, you know, the property to a developer, we would want to have probably in the request for proposal process at least design guidelines. Now, that's probably not the right word, the parameters or something. We can't be so detailed that we tell the developer exactly what has to be built and what the shingles have to look like and, you know, the size of the driveway. Because that, you know, at that point, we might as well do the Warren Ave project, right, where it's completely publicly run. If it's a real partnership, the developer's going to want some, you know, control of the process. So we would probably, you know, again, we'd be looking to you for help on how we could define this. So number of units, you know, setbacks. Once we actually have a piece of land that we're actually looking at and interested in, you know, other site considerations. If there's
Why do you hesitate calling it design guidelines? It sounds good.
Well, design guidelines to me suggest something very specific, and I think that at a first level we would not be so specific, right? Because then once we had a developer on board, you know, they have to have their team and actually really design the project. And then I'm assuming that because Weston, I'm not really aware of any multifamily zone within the town. Like, I think that there are two. There are two.
They actually haven't been identified. It's in the zoning bylaw, but there are no.
I've seen some with it.
I don't think there's maybe Jericho Village actually.
I think
is one of them.
that's true.
And I don't think there's one that fits the second model. But
Right.
those require pretty big pieces of property.
They do, yeah. And so we wouldn't be looking at that. So I think that the permitting process would be a 40B and a friendly 40B. I mean, it would have to be. So by a friendly 40B, I mean, well, for one thing, the trustees, there's a board of selectmen on the trust, who's one of the trustees. But also we have to consult the board of selectmen, and we seek the board of selectmen's approval so that they would go with us to the zoning board of appeals with a letter of support for any project going forward. We come to the planning board, probably conservation, I'm sure. If there are any historic assets, we'd be talking to the historic commission. Who else? I'm missing anybody. Probably not.
Yeah. You're at right now for this town meeting. You're asking for about $1 million.
It's $950,000.
It's
Yeah. We wanted it under $1 million.
Yeah.
And some people are like, you can't do anything for under $1 million. So I know, but we're going to try. We'll try to do what we can.
So is it your thought that you would then have that $1 million to spend on a piece of property in Weston.
Yes.
All right, so the question I've heard is justifying affordable housing, you know, for a purchase price of $1 million, and that's before the house is built.
So in this model, there wouldn't be any other subsidy. So whatever money we spent, that would be it. The rest would be the, just the pain and agony of us helping them through the process. So
But
once
somebody has to spend the money to build a house.
the developer would have to build the
Right,
house
so
at
it's
their
part of
cost.
the cost.
It is.
So what is
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
do you
yeah.
have a number, a target number per unit?
Per unit? We don't, I mean,
No?
we do in the sense that we've had some experience with, you know, the public project with Warren Ave, Bylaw Street, you know, the WAFI model, where WAFI got town funds to purchase the property from a homeowner at the appraised price, plus, you know, renovation and construction costs.
What
Are
was
you,
the
are you
cost?
And they're-
targeting the 50th percentile or 80th percentile? Yeah,
So wait, I'm sorry, so
Sorry.
there, I thought, this is from my memory, and I don't know if anybody here. I thought it was $1.1 million for 2 units.
For 2
No,
units?
the 600K, something like that.
That was, I think, the home purchase price.
Yeah.
I think the town grant, CPA funds were something over $1 million for that
Maybe
project.
50. But they bought a structure.
They
that was
did.
already two-family, if I
Yeah.
remember right.
You're right, yep, exactly,
And
yeah.
it was 600 or something because the seller was
650 on Bylaw
characterized as
Road.
being interested in supporting this. That was a key point.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, you know, you can buy those every day of the week.
Right, but we, yeah.
What did the buyer buy it for? What was the affordable price?
That's a rental, so the walking
Oh, it's
owns and
rental,
they're
okay.
renting those.
Okay, but these are
Yeah.
purchase, right?
So,
How did they-
ideally, if we were able to find enough land to put 2 duplexes on it, we got 4
Duplexes,
units,
4 units.
Yeah.
right? I mean, you know, this is all, it's gonna be a question of what's out there, what the opportunities are, and, you know, we haven't said, this is our cutoff point. You know, we're not gonna spend more than this dollar amount per unit.
Okay, but there is enough, you're asking town meeting to vote on a number, but
Not
my only
guarantee the
suggestion.
number of units to yield on that number, is that what you
Well,
mean?
somebody's gonna stand up at town meeting for certain sure and say,
Yeah, the $1 million get you what?
what does it get you?
Yeah, yeah.
What are you buying for $1 million?
Right.
I mean, there are a few houses on the market for 600-700K.
So
Let's
there's,
start there.
so the Warren Ave price tag, I think, maybe would come in around $450 a unit. I mean, we have to see how the dust all settles on that. It may be a little less than that. I think
Excuse me,
that,
these to be sold?
for our project, yeah, it would be a sold, for sale.
But that was 0 land cost.
For Warren Ave, it was 0 land cost, right.
Right.
And then WAFI's model was, with land costs and renovation, costs. It's a little bit higher than
So, it'd just be interesting to know. I mean,
that. Yeah.
I mean, I think we can provide.
We obviously want to do more as opposed to less. And the other thing is that we're not only looking to, you know, to spend a certain amount on the purchase price of this property too. So if we're, you know, if we find something that's, you know, we've got a purchase price of $500,000, that's, you know, all the better, because we've got money left over for the
I'm
next
sure,
project.
yeah.
I mean,
question
just to
is
say
more-
the obvious, you know, that doesn't make
One of the
sure.
questions in the math is are you gonna also subsidize the development?
No.
Okay, so you're gonna leave it up to the developer to make sure what he puts into it, he'll get back, or she.
Exactly, yeah.
So all you're gonna contribute is the land.
That's right.
But the town doesn't get, the town gets no money back for its investment.
Exactly.
And that's gonna define how much it sells for then, right? So you're gonna say it's gonna sell for what the developer put into it, basically.
No, so the way the for sale affordable housing works is that the sale price is based on what's
Percentage.
considered affordable.
Right,
for
but I'm
a
just saying that has to
homeowner.
be tied together somehow, so.
You're not gonna give the
Well, so our
developer.
model, so the model, you know, with Habitat, the point is that Habitat has funds to spend to build the properties, right?
Oh, so if
they're-
it's a
they're
nonprofit
using-
developer, they'll come in and they'll
It's the
put more money
nonprofit
into it.
developer model.
Oh, I
Yes,
got it. I like
exactly.
that. I
So
didn't
they
understand that.
do get money from the sale, but not enough to build.
So nonprofit developers say, I will do this on my own, just give me the land.
They're the mission-driven nonprofits.
Okay,
Yeah.
they got all those other parameters worked out. I like that. Is there more than Habitat, or more, or is Habitat the one? Okay, I like it.
There are two other, but they're usually, we don't know any in this
Yeah.
region. I've heard that there are some actually quite good ones in the western part of the state.
Yeah.
There's a conference in June where,
Is it gonna be a part of your presentation?
what's that?
At the town meeting, if you're presenting it all?
No, no.
Good guy.
We can provide guidelines, that would be,
Yeah, that's, we would really be eager for your help in that regard.
yeah, I'd be glad to pitch in and help out.
And also for the search for properties, I mean, that's the other thing is that we've been, you know, we've been starting a outreach to other committees where people are paying close attention to what's available there. And, you know, you all have the knowledge of what the opportunities are right there. So,
Okay,
okay.
thanks to.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good work.
Yeah.
There are two. And there's another type of multifamily that's
You
not.
didn't know?
Yeah, right.
It
Not
doesn't have
designated.
that.
Right.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Because it requires an enormous piece of property, really. I think it's yeah, exactly how much, maybe 60 acres, something big. Okay, we're ready to start the discussion on rules and regulations. This is the first discussion. So we're not voting on anything tonight, we're not ratifying anything, we're just beginning the process. We've got a draft here from EMI. I don't know how many planning board members have had a chance to read the draft. I got halfway through it.
Selections.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I want to cue this up.
Yeah.
To kind of frame the discussion and how things, this is short.
Planning board finished all the required hearings on articles for warrant that you guys have to do. Did I miss the double cut driveway and then the selectmen's petition? Were there any other things that are on there?
There's a third one, but he's going to move to pass over.
Which one?
That was the height regulation.
Oh, I saw that on TV.
He's
That
going to
was
move to
great.
pass over.
And the wireless overlay district, that's done too?
We're going to look at
We're
that
just
procedure
gonna,
tonight.
we're just gonna look at the recommendation tonight and vote on it, but
Because
it's,
that's going in the town meeting, right?
yeah, that's being put forward by the selectmen.
Oh, so you don't have to review it? I thought you
We've
had to
reviewed
go
it.
along.
We have reviewed it. We
Oh,
reviewed it
okay.
at our last
Okay,
meeting. We're
so
just gonna-
basically you're done with the town meeting stuff?
We're done with the, yes, we're done with town meeting stuff. Right.
All right. Very good.
Okay, so Ema, you were gonna give us a.
Yeah, so here's how we broke this down this time around. So the last draft, if you recall, I gave you was basically planning board rules and regulations which relate to subdivision. And when we discussed that draft, what we said was we need to come up with a comprehensive rule rewrite that's going to incorporate site plan approval and the other permits we had. So that was going to be a step-by-step process. So we do have the regulations for subdivision. added in the regulations for site plan approval and submission procedures for RGFA site plan approval and Scenic Road. So that's the three rules that are kind of considered in this package. There are others that we'll eventually have to add in as well. And that's what, has all told constituted the 70-something pages that this is. So the big changes here that I wanted to point out was, one is consolidation of the standards. And so if you look at, this is excerpt from the rules and regulations of planning board from site plan approval and from the submission procedures. You see they all kind of talk about a drawing standard. This is one excerpt. That's something that has been all consolidated into one section and then kind of cascades down looking like this, basically. General standards, standards for subdivision, standards for site plan approval, standards for preliminary, standards for definitive. That's how this is laid out. That's one of the reasons that the document couldn't really be Ramsayed, with a strike-through format. It would have been just one big blue document and one text document. So nonetheless, I see, how giving you a 76-page document and saying, here, what do you think? You need more of a guide to get through that. And that's what we talked about last time. So this is kind of what I'm working on running through it is basically a kind of cascade of the standards, general standards, subdivision standards, and how they would carry through. And also a similar table that's going to look at the existing standards and how they're going to change into this new standard. I mean, it's dense to look at right now, but when I get this to you, hopefully with this prep, it kind of makes sense what it's looking at.
So how many standards are you standardizing?
Hundreds.
How many?
Hundreds at least.
Probably hundreds.
Yeah.
So it was 100 times 3 before.
There's a lot. I mean, we're putting together about 5 rules packages in the end is what we have to pull together. One of them, the subdivision one, is very thick, and we're adding in the design standards, things that make it into every decision, like 23,000 lumens of lighting, like irrigation systems that come into this. Yeah.
So for every standard, there were 2 or 3 versions before, and now you're saying let's just make one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically.
So what would be helpful to me, maybe it's too much work for you, but what would be helpful to me is like for every standard, you say, here are the old versions, here's the proposed.
That's the other table I'm going to make up.
Okay, that would be really.
So that's the other guide to kind of get you through this, because it has to come up with.
For me, it's kind of in a vacuum. I'm like looking at something new. I said, what did it used to be?
Yeah, that's why I realized, there has to be, since it can't be a strike-through format, there had to be some other key to get you through it. That
it's like you're introducing 10 more commandments.
That needed more. These 10 commandments.
This took a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it still is. I mean, it's not complete yet. So this is something that I have to get out to you guys and break out into sections, piece by piece, as we continue this. So this is going to be.
When you talk about we, who are you referring to? Is it you and your sister?
No, we, the board, as I give these things to you, we
Looks
discuss.
to me like it's like you.
Well, yeah, it's.
Frankly,
Kemosabe.
Yeah.
The royal we, but you're doing all the work. Okay.
So yeah, so this is something I'm gonna have to continue to get out and and I think like Steve just suggested, to do it section by section as we go through it and read this and give you guys a guide to. I mean, realizing that there was no way that in the 2 weeks I could have given you that we could have had an informed discussion on this. We just had to pick a starting point and go with it. So that's where we are, and that's how I plan to continue this.
This reminds me of the time we did all the zoning bylaws. We tried to get rid of all the duplication.
It was 6 months.
Yeah.
It's
That's
streamlining.
Yes.
I just wanted to comment, I did have a chance to go through what was online, and it looked like really just cleaning it up. I didn't see substance changing.
It is. I mean, a lot of it is cleaning it up.
It's
That's true. A lot of it is cleaning it up, reformatting it so that it's hopefully easier to read.
Easier to read.
That's the idea. But there also is the introduction of other standards that the board has consistently used that really aren't, that need to be published or adjusted.
That's my concern right there. If I could say something, Mario on 75 Bogle. I read through the entire thing, and I understand that it's a very nice job that you did. It's thicker than the zoning bylaw, and its rules and regulations. What concerns me is that there are things that have sort of been accumulating, standards that have been accumulating over the years that are not really zoning bylaws that the town residents and voters haven't really voted on, yet they're being imposed on applicants. And the one that I'm concerned, really concerned about is this well water for irrigation. Because to me, I looked at the standards and I read them, and I don't see where the planning board is commissioned, because they're dealing with mitigating the impacts of a large home, where the planning board can make someone install a well, go through the expense of installing a well on a scenic road, where someone, the neighbor that lives on a street, could be building a bigger house and have a bigger yard and not have to put irrigation, especially since the water that is being used is paid for. It's not like you're not taxing a town resource, and so if there's a drought, the town has the right to say nobody can water their lawn. So how can the planning board make someone put in a well? I noticed you asked the other applicant that had a pretty small lawn, do you have irrigation? You're making them plant all these trees, so they have to be watered, at least initially, to stay alive, and then you're making them put in a well to do it.
This is another.
So I don't like the well.
You know, Mario, that we're working with the Board of Selectmen on a comprehensive water management and conservation policy.
Okay.
That would wrap the whole.
I think it should be a zoning bylaw, is what I'm trying to say. If it's a zoning bylaw, it's across the board, and not.
We'll get to that in combination with the Board of Selectmen, that they're driving that particular bus.
Right. But in the meantime, you impose a condition on an applicant who's trying to, it takes 4 or 6 months to get his project underway, and he just wants, at this point, he's like, fine, you want a well, I'll put in a well, but it's $30,000 could be.
Well, one of the reasons why we're doing this is because, I don't mean to dismiss your concern. We've heard the concern many times. What we're trying to do is address a situation where, what we're trying to do is get to the point where we're not repeating the same discussion over and over and over again. Our concern is that we're importing water from outside the town, and it's processed drinking water. You can fill up your glass and drink it. We're putting it into lawns without any controls other than the rate that you pay to the water department for the use of the water.
You pay a higher rate when you pay a
higher rate, but in Weston, that's not really a governor. A lot of people are perfectly willing to pay whatever the rate is.
Well, no, I don't think so.
I don't want to get into an argument about it. We're talking about rules and regulations here, but what we're trying to do is say maybe there's a better way to manage that. If you really have to water your grass, maybe there's a better way to do it rather than bringing water in and dumping it into your lawn. We've gone to site walks, and I can't describe how many, where the day after a rainstorm, where the sprinklers are going, and you literally are squishing, as you walk across, you can splash across the lawn. There's that much water coming in and just going into the ground, and we're saying, look, let's just take a step back see if we can actually not import so much water and use water in the community to go back into the community water supply. It's not necessarily drinkable.
Yeah, well.
What is that, Ken?
I think we're getting bogged down on a specific issue.
I do too.
Instead of
completely
focusing
agree.
on that.
I understand.
But there are a
concern
number of
about
those same issues.
I know there are a number, there are.
I brought that one up because it was I was more passionate about that particular one.
Well,
but-
we understand that the desire on the part of some homeowners to be able to put as much water on their lawn as they want to. We think that there might be a balance there. But what other issues are there that concern you?
Can I comment one thing on the water? Instead of just saying, let's just do wells, what about taking some of the water that comes off of the roofs and putting them in?
We're glad to talk about that. We've actually discussed that with people at proposed sprinkler systems. We said, what about cisterns? You could use a cistern system. We'd be glad to have that happen. What we're trying to do is get people to think about it. Right now, the mindset is you just plug into the MWRA system, turn on the faucet, and water to your heart's content as much as you want, as often as you want. And maybe you should think about that before you do it.
I don't think that's what Mario's concern was so much as, I think his question is more about what belongs in your rules and regulations, what should go before town meeting.
What we're saying is the well issue is tied to the water management issue, which is tied to the Board of Selectmen and Planning Board's effort to develop a water management policy. It would go in that bucket, if you will, and we get out of the well business. We're glad to get out of the well business, but we think that we should have a comprehensive town policy that makes sense as opposed to just turning on the spigot.
Right, but in the meantime, you
we'll,
things.
We'll try to limit
condition
water
people.
usage as much as we
Yeah.
can. And this, by the way, does go back to some of our standards and conditions in the zoning bylaw. It may not be a specific provision in the zoning bylaw, but we're again tasked to deal with the standards and criteria that are laid out in the bylaw. We're tasked to judge according to those standards and criteria, to the best of our abilities.
What happens if you put a condition on the project that they have to have a well, and they go to drill a well and they don't get water? That doesn't happen. Or they don't get enough gallons per minute to...
Then they can come back to us and say, look, we can't do it, we have to have a lawn sprinkler system. You know, life will end as we know it unless we
But I mean, what's next? Are you going to force a homeowner to pay private tuition for the kids to come to public schools because they're...
That's a ridiculous question. Let's move
Well,
on.
it's not ridiculous
That's
because
ridiculous.
it's actually
It's
not. It actually makes more
absolutely
sense than the water.
No.
It makes more sense than the water.
No,
Because if
let's
you
move
read your zoning bylaw and what it says for what you're commissioned for, the charging tuition makes more sense than the water. Well, I'm using the water as an
It's
example.
not even
It's a real
quivering
good
anymore. What else is there?
You're gonna have an opportunity. I applaud the thoughts that you have about water, and I think you'll have the opportunity going forward when we work with the Board of Selectmen to put a water conservation plan together to enter that conversation. I think your thoughts are really good. So
Because
I just
it's
think
good,
it's
it
just
should be
the right
townwide.
time.
Yeah, it
It's
needs
the
to be
right time.
townwide.
Just not here,
And
not now.
comprehensive.
I promise.
I mean,
The same thing with the double driveways. We're taking a holistic look with the Board of Selectmen.
I have
in
a
this case.
question for Imai, it'll help me. I've got a lot of little comments and it's late, and you're gonna have other ones. Not get them on another night, but two things. One, there's a lot of numbering problems. I was trying to refer back, but you did it in a hurry, just so you know. But beyond that, the things where you're trying to, I'll say, use the word codify practices that have not yet been in the regs. I bet when you worked on this, you probably made a list of those things and where to put them. It would help us, and I've identified a lot of them, but it would help if you have that list for the next meeting, because I bet you...
That's another thing that's gonna come into this
Yeah,
format.
because that'll be helpful for us to say, oh yeah, that wasn't, because I see, I'm not gonna do it tonight, I picked out a lot of things that have changed, but be better to see the whole list and then we can comment instead of trying to ferret it out, because I'm very impressed with the work you've done on this. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Trying to do here is, give a
So,
key to it.
one other one, just to mention, I know I'm not talking about the water, but the definition of RGFA is different in the zoning bylaw than it is in the regulations. In the regulations, you want to count an entire basement of in the RGFA if any portion of it is below grade. And in the zoning bylaw, that is not what it
They have
states.
to be consistent.
Right.
They have to be consistent.
Because now you, okay, you agree with that?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Which is gonna trump which?
Well, the zoning bylaw has to trump.
Zoning bylaw, the one that does.
Right. Did you have a copy of your old set?
I have one specific question, and I don't think it's a practice now. I read some language that said, for every tree you take down,
Yeah.
you have to put in another one. So you could have a site where you're clearing a lot of trees just to put the house in.
Yeah, that's the general guideline,
Is
isn't
that
it?
the guidelines, one for one?
One for one, right? Isn't
That
that?
took me by
No.
surprise.
It says should.
No, the town of
Should.
Weston is something different, yeah.
Yeah, no,
That's, I've never,
no, it's not one for one, Imai.
Okay.
We'll work through some of
Okay.
these things.
I think it might be the referral of someone who takes out trees that shouldn't have taken out trees. That-
illegal lot
Maybe the
clearing.
penalty.
Right.
That's the
Yeah,
penalty.
that's penalty.
That's the penalty.
I agree.
That's
Yeah,
what-
it is a
That's
penalty.
exactly what it
It's
is.
a penalty.
That's for that's relates to the lot clearing
But
bylaw.
that's not.
Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
again, I just got to the first half of this. Sorry.
Wow.
It's for a penalty.
Okay, so this is the first crack at this. And Imai, as soon as you have these charts, comparative
Yeah.
charts done, put them online.
Yeah.
Let people know that they're out there, that would be helpful.
There is also the sheets on how to sign up for the town updates out back there, so if you guys wanna, when I put them online, know about them, get the text about them.
Yeah, and don't wait for a meeting. If you see something that, like, cut one for one trees, shoot an email to Imai, you can keep a record of people's comments so that we don't stack them up and wait for another meeting to take them into account.
Is this one done?
No.
All right? So this is the first one. This is gonna go on for a while.
Where can you access this 75 pound thing? 75
It's online.
It's online.
What's the
If you go to the town planner website, it's under today's meeting, under that, but I'll put it up under our banner one, honestly.
All right, thank you, everybody.
It's gonna be so ongoing.
That's it.
Next. Yeah, so,
Okay. Under section 2.
Okay, so number, okay,
I think I was looking straight in the camera.
So you don't know
okay.
everything is.
That includes this.
Okay.
I don't know if the distinct sections
Yeah.
should actually be article and section there.
Certainly, okay. Yeah, that's following existing, but yeah, I don't.
I don't get it. Section 1 definition.
I like the
You don't
boots.
need another.
I couldn't help it, that's
You know
the
what
only
that's?
thing I had.
That's the auto format.
This way,
Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's the auto, I'm doing that, I'll see if I can fix it.
Oh, wait, does this create a table?
Yeah.
For you?
Yeah, so it picks it up that way.
Nice.
guys, is that something you could talk about?
Yes.
offline? Okay, so, decisions, personal wireless overlay district report.
Here it is.
It's obviously,
I
Right, I mean, it's like, certainly tolerance level.
You don't say.
Is this it?
Yep.
I move that we adjourn. Just kidding.
If you read it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just saying, yeah. Is my arm being twisted?
Okay. I move that we approve the memorandum dated April 26th regarding the annual town meeting warrant article relating to the personal wireless overlay district.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
It's all yours.
Just like it said.
All right.
Okay,
Two sets of minutes.
yeah,
Tony just went through 118
yeah.
and gave me
One modification.
one modification to it.
Hot dog.
You guys want?
I'll take his word for it.
I would too.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay.
I'm all
Good.
for it.
Okay.
So,
I move that we approve the meeting minutes dated January 18th, 2017 with the modification proposed by Tony.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
That's done.
Okay, then the 15th I got today from Roy. This has his modifications noted on it.
We're gonna insult Roy after we didn't.
I'm okay.
Yeah, we gotta look at this one with a
That's
real
right.
big
Fine.
magnifying
You know,
glass.
Wait, more changes.
I completely trust Roy
Me too.
with my life.
Yeah, there
With your life?
Wow.
you go. Wow.
More than just
Heavy
with minutes,
responsibility.
with life.
It's like an outward bound event.
I should read the whole thing again? Is it marked with the changes?
Should,
Yeah.
Is it? Where is
Oh,
it?
here's the one that's marked with the changes, sorry.
Oh.
I gave you last week's one.
That's all right. It looks great to me.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
I agree with these marks.
Okay. If you do want to see Roy's marks, here they are.
Well, every other page is upside down.
What?
How did you just hand us?
Printer settings.
Yeah, the printer said.
Modify to page down upside down.
That's your hot bottom.
Yeah.
That works for me, that is.
Oh, traffic.
I believe it.
Oh.
It's not upside down if you turn the page
That's
correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you fold it over.
Yeah, that is.
Got it. Really?
Yeah. It works for him.
Where are the markups?
Right here, like, there's one right,
Oh.
no, I
Yeah,
can't.
Okay.
yeah.
Because we don't have color, I mean, our color.
Seriously, you don't
Well,
have
it's a
color?
long evening.
Our
Sure
Xerox,
is.
our big Xerox is not color.
Can I move that we approve these
Yeah,
You
minutes?
certainly can.
Yes.
And
I
later
move
on,
that we
we're
approve these
hopefully getting a new
minutes
one.
from February 15th, 2017 as modified.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
No opposed.
Okay.
Town planner report.
Town planner report. Okay, there are, the first thing I want to discuss on the town planner report is meetings in July.
Yes, great minds think alike.
Yeah, because the
Because
July meeting
it's
is.
the day after the
It's the day after the 4th, so
That
if,
ain't gonna fly.
so if nobody's gonna be here, let's move it to the next week.
Yeah, so move that to the 12th,
Yeah,
or what?
Okay.
okay,
So that's now the 12th.
yeah.
With me?
And then do we want to keep the following one on the 19th,
Or
or
you
shall
s-
we move it to the 26th?
I would think move it to the
Guys.
26th, but you guys,
It's fine with
We're
me.
talking July?
Yeah.
Is, you know.
So that would be the last one, the 26th?
Yeah.
that would be the last, yeah, that would be the
Well,
last
that's a
week.
good idea, yeah.
Okay.
For the 12th and the
And the
26th.
26th. Okay.
And we'll end up with the 19th too.
No, no, we won't.
So we just.
You might.
Stop that, no. No. Lack of planning
Yeah.
on other people's parts does not constitute an emergency on ours.
This coming Tuesday, a site visit at 327 Boston Post Road. The other thing to discuss is Boston properties and the scheduling. We were supposed to hear from Bob Michaud on his peer review of their traffic report on the 3rd. He won't be quite ready on the 3rd. I talked to him today just to check up on that. So our options are, we could move it to the May 17th meeting. We do have a lot to deal with already on that meeting because that's when we moved 119 Orchard, the site in the bowl that Jay was going over. So I anticipate still a lot of discussion on that. And we also do have the joint meeting coming up on the 23rd with the Board of Selectmen, in which case we could just have him go over the findings there and we all look at it together.
I think we want to see it first.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind meeting like we did before.
But we got to meet with him as a board.
No, I understand, but
Yeah.
I'm saying before the meeting, I'd like to tear into it.
Why don't we schedule a meeting with just that one agenda item?
We can do that.
Yeah.
We can do that. Okay.
We sometimes do that like at 8 o'clock on Friday mornings or Thursday mornings.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
I'll check with you folks. What's a good time for you? I'll just follow up with an email and post some times. Okay. That is what we will do then. All right. Those are the big things I really have to talk about for this. We've gone through our town meeting things. Warrant is out. I don't know if you guys got your red book yet, but we can have some time on the next meeting to discuss that.
Well, actually,
Or do you?
can I just run down a list of the articles? Has everybody seen the warrant?
No.
No?
I've seen it, but I didn't read it.
Is he a
Okay.
If anybody wants a warrant, I have my copy of a warrant if anybody wants to
Oh, great.
go through it quickly, but it is.
You want this back?
I do need that back, yes. Or I'm going to need yours when you finally
You
get
guys
it.
get mail?
Yeah. Definitely the mail.
I've got to tell Tom Crane who's going to speak to what article
Yeah.
pretty soon. You can't wait until the 3rd of May to do that.
Okay.
So I've got a list here, and let me just run down a list about possible articles that we might want to comment on or maybe not. The first one is Article 17, Proctor Field. Do we want to say anything about Proctor Field? No?
I think you've issued your.
Yeah,
Your
I'm just
permit.
asking.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd assume that would be Article 18.2, the high school field renovation. No comment on that. Okay, Article 19, Case Campus Master Plan. I think, here's my thought on that. We've been told, the planning board's been told that what's being presented this year is exactly what was presented last year. And so consequently, we did not review the Case Campus Master Plan because it's supposedly exactly the same.
Isn't it just being divided into two pieces or
It's
something?
just split it into landscaping and not
Yeah.
landscaping. That's not exactly, it turns out to be not exactly the case. There are changes from last year's plan. For example, the whole library area is changed.
Why?
I don't know. The access road, once they build the new access to the Case House from the internal driveway, the last year's plan showed the access off Wellesley gated off with no access. That's now morphing into a one-way, which is creating some real difficulties for people. So what we might want to do is just stand up and say, we have not reviewed anything to do with the master plan this year. We can't comment on it because we haven't seen anything. Nobody's
And we know
presented
there were
to us.
changes.
We were told there were no changes,
Right.
and that therefore a review wasn't necessary. So somebody needs to make that comment.
Well, that's gotta be me. I'm the representative. planning board.
Okay. I mean, could you make that comment? Do you feel comfortable with
Of
that?
course,
Okay.
yeah.
So.
I mean, it's.
And this is being presented by the board of selectmen, correct?
I don't know.
This is part.
Where
I thought it was a
is-
school
where's the
committee.
part
Because
you
the
said
school
was
group is
looking at?
joint, I
Is
think.
it joint, but?
Where is,
okay,
there's
so
only
we're
one
gonna
article.
I
give them a
don't
heads
know, I
up
haven't
on
looked
yours.
at it.
Just come up and say, you know, we did not get to review.
Do you
this,
see
and we
where
should know.
19 is
Yeah, I'm
broken into
just
two
looking.
pieces?
I mean,
Yeah.
what to do? We should-
Yeah.
They certainly
I mean,
haven't.
just like a heads up, I
they
will be
haven't solicited
speaking
it.
and saying.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be telling Tom Crane
Okay, good, all
what
right.
we're
All
gonna be
right,
talking
and
about.
so-
I do this
Right.
for every
Okay.
town meeting. The utility burial. Steve, is that something that you feel comfortable talking about, or should
Well, I
we?
would, except for the fact that I have nothing new to say than what I said the last time.
Okay.
So, and I don't know that that's appropriate for me to just give the same spiel that I did.
Do we
I
support
mean,
it?
We all support
the town planning committee is definitely doing a new presentation.
Okay.
And Pam Fox is helping.
Okay. Yeah.
And she's probably going to stay there and say something in favor of it too.
Okay.
You could get up and say, and the planning board still supports it. We support what's been said, if you want.
If you don't
Yeah, I
feel
mean,
comfortable,
just-
I-
No, it's not that I'm uncomfortable. Is that, I mean, is that really the gist? Maybe that's all I need to say. The
Yeah.
board
We still support it.
continues to be in support.
yeah, I mean, the argument is gonna be aesthetics versus practicality. That's gonna be,
Right.
that's gonna be where everything,
Yeah, money.
money versus looks.
Right.
Always spend
Remember,
money
this
on
is-
looks.
This is just for fees.
Yeah, that's what
I
everybody,
know.
that's what everybody goes for.
And it
It's how much
lost by
fees are.
18 votes.
I know.
last time.
Right, I know,
I
it's
know, I
close.
saw Pam's.
Does anybody have a justification? I heard the selectmen quelling over this for a long time on TV last night, justifying why they were bringing it back. Are they gonna keep bringing it back till they get the vote they want? Is that the theory?
The moderator will let them continue to bring it back.
That's
Yes.
pretty bad.
The theory is because a majority of people voted in support of it. However, it didn't have a two-thirds majority. It lost by 18 votes. And after the meeting, many people came up to selectmen and various others and said that they really wish that it could pass because, you know, it's sort of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And there were also people that said that they didn't really understand. Because it was complicated, it was in three
But there were
parts.
special conditions.
And this was part number 3, and there were people that said by then they just didn't know what they were voting, and it was confusing.
Yeah, my only
So-
problem is if everything you said had gone the other way, we wouldn't hear beef about it. If it had been passed by a tiny margin, it would be all fine.
Yeah.
So the skinflints and, you know, Scrooges and stuff aren't getting that bad day.
But this really only allows the town to do its due diligence to determine whether or not burying the wires, either in part or the entire town center, is
What the scope.
practical.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, bringing it back after it was voted fair and square. We've had a lot of close votes in this town, a lot.
Yeah.
Bringing it back again is like, until we get the answer we want. That's okay.
You're talking to the wrong board.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, but you guys are also fair-minded. Polite.
Some
and
argue
everything.
against that.
You're right.
Is that revised post-traumatic stress syndrome? Like for being on the planning board?
What did she say?
It's a wireless district acronym, but it looks like.
PWSOD, she's saying, is that post-traumatic stress syndrome?
PWA?
No, PWSOD.
Personal Wireless
Yeah.
Service
PW
Overlay
SOD.
District.
PWS.
It's the next article, Sue's jumping the gun. The next article that we might want to comment on
Oh, because she's jumping ahead, I
is
see.
is the change in the Personal Wireless Service
Yeah, let me ask
Overlay
you another
District.
stupid question. Why are you even doing this instead of only worrying about articles that are your responsibility, like zoning bylaws? Like, for instance, the wireless water meter reading system, you know, that sounds great. What do we get for it? We're gonna spend money on this automated thing.
The reason why we're going through these that are not strictly zoning related is because we have members of the board sitting on these committees.
Okay. Well, so they might have something to say.
So they might have something to say.
But not, oh, I see. And there's no
We don't have anything to do with the water meter.
water meter, yeah.
Uh,
There should be a money committee. Somebody worries.
There
We're
is, the
spending money.
finance committee.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah, but unfortunately.
Susan, it's 10:20. I'm running out of gas. Does somebody want to speak on the PWSOD?
This is what we
It's
just
just what we
executed
did,
this
yeah.
evening?
Yeah.
Do we really?
Do we really need to?
Our vote speaks, right?
I mean, a quick statement to
Let
say
the memo
that.
stand?
I'll do it. Okay.
Who drew up this?
It's a one sentence thing.
Yeah.
Did you guys draw up this bylaw, this amendment?
No, the
Who did?
selectmen, the
Oh.
selectmen. We're saying it's
No,
okay
I
with
get it.
us. They want the responsibility, Susan.
No, I get it, no,
Fine
I'm
with me.
just curious, but being
Okay.
a zoning bylaw member, I figured you guys were the ones that
There was
created
a
it.
whole meeting on that.
Pardon?
There was a whole meeting on that where they asked for the permission to,
All we can do is make a recommendation.
yeah, but the selectmen asked for the permission. It's all right.
That is correct.
Okay, so
I mean,
moving on, Article 24.
We agreed with what they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Article 24, is that the one being passed over? That's the, where?
That's the height. Height is being passed over.
No, wait a minute. Oh, right, no, I knew that. But the previous one, the double cut.
Huh? That's the next one, Susan.
You gotta let him run the meeting.
Yes.
You gotta let him run the meeting.
He wants to get out, I'm helping him.
Really?
Yes.
Double cut driveways, I guess, who's speaking on that one? Me? Yes? All right.
Who's speaking of it? You.
Yeah, I guess so. Josiah Smith, the board reviewed this one. Does the board want to make any comments on it?
Where is that? I'm sorry.
It's Article 29, Susan.
What happened to the previous ones?
We're
You
not
don't care?
comment, I don't think that they have anything to do with us.
Do you think that the committee would appreciate us getting up
I think the town might ask.
extensive?
The town will want to know.
Where's the planning board on this?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
It's
Substantial.
It would be.
Where is the planning board?
There's gonna be a statement essentially.
I'm recusing myself, so I can't say.
Yeah.
We issued a memorandum, so it's just making a
Right,
statement.
it's just making.
Are we gonna come to
Because
the
I'm on
Article
the board
30?
of the Friends.
Or did you have Article 30 out?
What is Article 30?
The
Appropriateness of community housing.
trust.
Well, I don't know, is that one that we had
Yeah,
anything to do
exactly.
with?
Yeah, exactly. Well, she just came and talked.
She did, but she
Yeah.
didn't ask us to
Okay,
support
good,
it.
yeah.
No,
She asked us to do design
Yeah.
guide.
Did you finish in the previous one, or you just jumped up?
We just
No, I'm
jumped
doing it
ahead.
because I-
It's because people just take things out of order, you know.
No.
I'm so
Roy
good at
asked
running
if
a
I wanted-
meeting, that everybody
Right,
just,
Al, I had a reason for doing it, because Roy asked me if I wanted 29, and I was thinking if you were gonna do 30, I was gonna take that, but I'll take 29 if you want.
okay.
It's a one-sentence thing.
Yeah, it's just,
And we actually didn't vote a position on Sarah's thing, or even
No,
discuss it.
she didn't ask
She
us.
did not
Exactly.
ask, right.
Exactly.
That is going to have a bit of a time passing the town meeting, even though the CPC voted for it. The one
I tried to
person,
give
I
her
was
a
the
heads
one
up.
person who didn't, but finance committee has set some very reasonable arguments.
They gotta have a sense of ROI.
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
absolutely.
That's right.
Return
on investment.
Yeah.
And more than that, the pressing need right now is we need to make safe harbor, and this ties up $1 million,
Yeah.
which we might need for something else, like convincing Waltham that they really, really want to let us do that.
Yeah,
change
right.
that.
Good point.
Maybe that $1 million would be really well spent,
Yeah, the infrastructure development.
or something else, but it just seems
True.
it's a little premature. I mean, after safe harbor reached, it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Which one are you talking about?
She's talking about the one that
Oh.
Sarah read, was
Yeah.
just discussing.
That
You don't
you,
have to
that
think
you,
about it.
that you already said, boy, that the numbers don't work
No,
on
it's
that.
ridiculous.
They
Sorry.
don't work on that, so
Sorry.
that's
They
not
don't do
going,
that.
I'm sure that's not gonna pass because finance committee is just gonna.
Does that need a two-thirds vote or majority?
I think it's 2/3, maybe not.
I don't know.
Well, says right in the warrant.
Yeah.
So what do you decide, Article 30, somebody's gonna speak about?
No,
No,
that's
we're
the,
not.
that's the one we were just talking about.
Okay.
That's the,
No, the CPC might get up and say
Yeah,
something
well,
that they.
okay, I'm just trying to follow what you're saying. Without getting in the way.
it doesn't say.
Yeah, it doesn't say, it's very
It
strict.
doesn't say whether it requires a majority or 2/3.
Is there borrowing?
Don't think
No.
so?
Doesn't
no borrowing
say
involved.
anything.
What's in the-
There's no, the CPC's handing them $1 million?
I believe they have that money in the bucket, the formation.
Affordable
Buckets
bucket.
that we
Really?
have, but at some point, we are gonna have to start funding a lot of this stuff. I mean, the state matching is gonna be down to zero as near as I can see, you know, because they're already talking about now that Boston's on board. A lot of the money's gonna go to that, and there was some email I read recently that they were thinking about going to the state themselves and asking if they could add more money into that CPC, reimbursement fund, but it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
They've got so many other draws, so it will be harder to replenish the CPC
Yeah.
fund, the CPA funding.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and I'm
it's
sure
just-
finance will.
It's staggering to me that they would just outright hand $1 million to, for, anyway.
Anyway, yeah, it's just late and we don't need to discuss it
Yeah.
anymore, and we don't have to.
Okay. Let me just get you guys to sign something.
Okay.
Too late.
It's too late. You don't have to sign it. See, you're going with your pen there.
Oh, no, I put it away.
That's the funniest thing you've ever said, Eli.
I didn't hear what he said. I missed it. What?
You don't
He's
have to
being a
sign the
French
A&R
guy.
plan.
I don't have to, what?
He says, put
You
your
don't
pen
have
away,
to
you don't
sign
have
the
to sign.
A&R plan.
Unless you want to.
That's one of the perks of.
277 North. This is their live content.
Oh,
They've gone through their appeal period.
Where's your pen?
My special pen.
Article.
Right over here.
Pattern and the last one. These various appropriations.
Yeah,
The book school thing, and the.
Brook School thing is,
Well, gee,
we haven't, I don't, that's not something that the board is directly involved with. It's some kind of a study. So,
this is when I was into my book.
Like what?
Yes, and she wanted to get that Rizzi. Like one of the Rizzi things. It's so cute. Nice, huh?
Oh, good.
It's like,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
good. Oh, I I'm all ears.
how many copies of this? I don't know.
I'll take that.
No.
Life science,
Let's do such
yeah, anybody in life
No,
science.
yeah,
it's just the owner.
You can say WS.
Oh, that's the one we just.
All around the world.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I need a money.
Yeah, you were up in this thing.
Yeah, we'll see.
Mhm.
I've been up to this kind of things before in the airport now, but I'm a pretty good at batting.
No,
Everybody,
Okay, and then Al, I just need you on these two. These are
It's on the back.
for landscaping. Can you review them?
Right.
It's like a Batmobile. What?
Back from what?
From Dayton, Ray Patterson. But.
No matter what you want me to do next time, I'm waiting for where you're gonna, on the regulations.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
He says
I
it's
just wait. I'm doing it
fastest
already.
thing.
Yeah, you don't do it. Don't,
Okay.
you don't have to read it. I mean, if you
You want
want
to
to
do some more structured approach?
Yeah, I'm gonna, that's what that's starting there.
Okay.
I wanted to introduce that because I honestly,
Yeah.
it's such a dense document, I have to give you another document to decode it, and then I have to tell you what the decoder, how the decoder
There are
works.
two controversial things that are getting
No,
recycled.
it's just me.
Kind of now. There's double driveway stuff.
Yeah.
And, are there others that are gonna be?
There's the irrigation water.
Okay, but that's it. Do you have anything else?
I know, it's very scary.
The luminous thing, I don't, nobody's
That's scary.
worried
Okay,
about
it's
plus.
gonna be big, those
Well,
two.
yeah.
Those are fine.
We would fit over
I mean,
here.
Okay.
Mario raised that one with me today on the same principle, but the one he's more upset about.
Still,
The one he
Howard Drive,
feels more passionate about
this
is.
block.
What did she,
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
She had necrotising fasciitis, which is
No, he doesn't.
Yeah,
No, maybe, I've given this tomorrow, he raised some good points about, like, you know, he says, well, on Scenic.
It was a year ago.
Because I know how she can track pay.
Yeah.
So if I have to go to Scenic Road, why don't I just go right bigger? Because I'm already 40% on it.
Yeah,
You know?
but I think that is better as back separate.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that.
You guys here is important.
Yeah.
But the solution,
Yeah.
I agree with you. No, we haven't followed up on that one, that one yet, I know.
no.
let me know if you need help, if you need help.
I move that we adjourn the
I think
meeting.
we just.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, continue.